All right. And we are live. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody, for whenever you're actually watching this. This is Drinks with the Fellows, episode 78, I believe. And we have a special guest with us this afternoon, MP, Mr. Gumbs. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
We only have you for an hour, so I want to jump straight into it. Well, not a little straight into it. We're gonna baby step a little bit. Give the people a little bit of your background for those who might not know you. Yeah, just give us a little intro.
Okay. Well, Melissa Gumbs, I was born and raised on St. Martin. Attended the Jolly Dwarf kindergarten when it was still Jolly Dwarf. And then went on to St.
Yeah.
Dominic Primary and High School. From there, I went to the University of St. Martin for 1 year, and then I transferred out to St. Thomas University in Miami, Florida. Did my bachelor's and master's, bachelor's in business administration, master's in international business and communications. Was part of student government there for my junior year of my bachelor's degree, which was, my first foray into politics. Then trying to campaign and win votes from my fellow students. Came back home to St. Martin, worked at Sonesta Maho Beach Resort and Casino as a group sales manager. Actually won the Crystal Pineapple for Manager of the Year while I
Easy,
was
man.
there. That was a good time. And then decided to go to the Netherlands and just for a change of pace. So when I started working for TMF Group there, International Trust Company, and then started a student foundation while there, Unified Saman Connection with my friend Cyril Fennings. That's how I met, a lot of the people that have kind of been around since those days. The point of USC was to help Samantaners come into Holland to, adapt. We did things like write a student manual, literally detailing everything, where to shop. You go Albert Heijn for this, but you gotta go Albert Heijn for everything. Go to the market for that. Just trying to help this to come up because for us, for me especially, having lived on St. Martin after my masters, people were constantly complaining about the students, and I'm like, guys, it cannot be that the students are the problem. And while in Holland realized that indeed a lot of the issues are stem from St. Martin, where they're not prepared for the trip to the Netherlands. It can be a bit of a culture shock, especially depending on where you end up. I still look at students like Enschede, but anyway, So I think we tried our best to help make it feel like home at all our events, whether it was a fundraiser or the Christmas gala or anything like that. So yeah. And then moved back home, started working at UTS as a customer service section manager. And yeah, in 2019, we launched a party that had, been conceptualized in the after part of those USC meetings, trying to say, well, maybe, we could come back home and really affect change by entering into the political arena. But from in Holland, it was we can't join an existing party. It really needs to be our own thing. And yeah, that gave birth to what eventually became PFP. We went through a couple name options, but settle on what we have today. So yeah.
What? Just out of curiosity, what was one of the options? What was the second place?
So the main one that was winning out until my father kind of killed our dad was PSA. I think it was Progressive St. Martin Association or something like that. And we were like, yeah, that would be cool, because then our post we would put just a PSA
Mhm.
at the end of them. And I told my dad the name, and he was like, that PSA is what they measure when men go get a prostate exam. And I was like, I said, okay,
Yeah,
let's cancel that name and just move on from there.
yeah.
Yeah.
We were thinking
Yeah.
public service announcement, but there were so many other things to consider. So here we are with PFP, and I'm grateful
Wow.
for it.
Yeah. He
I
he
didn't
he
know
he
that.
burned that he burned that whole brainstorm paper while you had that training garbage.
We made it happen. So yeah.
Okay. And then what? Obviously, you say because of the how you had the organizations and you was going around with USC and stuff like that. But what being, I guess you can say the quote unquote the young party in SM now. What makes y'all think y'all ready to more or less run the country?
Professional experience. I've always advocated for people having at least some type of, especially private sector work experience before entering into politics. We have a tendency on St. Martin that you see a lot of civil servants hopping into the arena. And it could, for me, it's one of many several factors, but mainly because historically that's been the case, and you also see a lot of leniency given to civil servants that decide to run. There was a big kerfuffle a few weeks ago where they put a paper. It was a letter published explaining that if you're a civil servant running, you can apply for time off to campaign, etc. You still get a percentage of your salary. I worked full time at UTS when I ran the first time. I went to my boss and they were like, "Look, G, you have about 10 days vacation left. But you do still have to work." So thankfully, my boss at the time, Christina, was very like understanding and supportive. So she would say, if you come in a half hour late because you want Lady Grace, that's okay. But not everybody has that option in the private sector. So you see a lot of civil servants come. There's a certain mentality that comes with working for public service, and I think that when you get a mix of private sector professionals, it's a different outlook. A good example is in 2020, when COVID hit, Jean could tell you, I was like, well, our salaries got cut because private sector, when crisis hits. 2007, when the US housing bubble burst, Maho marched us into the GM room and said, listen, everybody taking a 10% cut, because it's either that or don't have a job. And, we brought a motion to cut MP salaries in solidarity with private sector. And everybody was like, yeah, but if you do that, you're messing up with people loans and mortgages. And I was like, guys, my former colleagues' loans and mortgages are already messed up. So it's a different kind of mentality when you come from private sector, when you come from a business that really depends on the economy driving forward. And at the end of the day, it is our private sector that drives the economy. So they understand, a bit better how it works.
Okay. But then there's a couple of things I wanted to hit on with that, but how okay, so then what does PFP, or what does you specifically as a party leader feel the stance on when it comes to having people in power that actually are educated in the ministry, for example? Because Martin, we have the history of putting, for example, somebody Minister of Health that have no idea what they do in there whatsoever.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that practice, and how does PFP plan to go about doing that?
I believe it's a mixed bag. And I think that a thing that people need to understand first is that being a minister means that you just need to be able to manage the ministry. There are people in the ministry that do the work. It's good to have some knowledge, of course, of the area that you're going into, but our ministries are also pretty big. So you could have, for example, I hear a lot of people say that a doctor should be the Minister of Health, but it's not just health, it's health, labor, social affairs. A doctor may not have any understanding of labor or any understanding of social, social well-being and social welfare, etc. So it's also, you don't want to focus so much on, oh, you should be a doctor to be Minister of Health because there's so much after it. I think it's good to get a balance and to have people, again, with that professional experience coming from private sector that know how it is to maneuver, to manage people, that has had that experience, at least managing people, because that's really what it boils down to, is management of the ministry, not the micromanagement, and that I am going to be the be all end all, because that's also not the intention.
But then would it then something specifically like you give the example of education, wouldn't that maybe be an example to split the ministry as well, instead of having so many coupled in one specific field?
So there's a couple options to counteract that. In the Netherlands Antilles days, we had what the Netherlands has now, which is state secretaries. Okay. That I think is for me, how I viewed it back then, is to control the number of ministers you have. Because if you split the portfolio, for example, if you take health or education, and you take youth and sports and you put it in one, and you leave education and culture in one, who's going to be, that's another minister you add in, another salary, another cabinet, etc. So in the past, in the Netherlands Antilles, you had state secretaries, just like in Holland. You have, for example, state secretary, soon to be former, Van Huffelen. She is state secretary for digitization and kingdom relations, but her minister has a pretty hefty ministry. You understand? So it's I think finding a way to give help that is of a higher level to ministers, and not necessarily splitting the ministry itself. You just need capable, again, it's management. If you are the minister and you have two state secretaries, one that focuses on, let's take example TEAT,
Mhm.
one that focuses on economic affairs, one that focuses on transport and telecommunications. Those state secretaries then, or whoever, whatever position you want to call it, then have to report up into the minister, and then it goes forward from there. The minister has to set the vision for that ministry, but they don't necessarily have to, dive down into the nitty gritty of it. That's why we stress as a party. You see a lot of people in cabinets. No offense to anybody, but I wonder, they're policy advisor, and I wonder, can they write a policy? Do they know how policy making is done? Because I'm not gonna lie, I could say, yeah, for sure, for sure. But it is such you need to dive down to literally every little detail that could go wrong. You need to figure out, you have to think, okay, well, how could people circumvent it? So I could close loopholes before I know, before they pop up. All of those things go into it. So I think that may be something that we would have to maybe look at in the future. I'm not saying no because we got money, but definitely, definitely something that has to be looked at. How we could counteract that. I don't know if maybe the SGs need to start moving a little faster or better, or being a bit more hands-on. But it really does boil down to competent people in the positions that we need them to be able to execute.
Okay, and I think you hit something. You hit a nail on the head there. That is one of our problems and has always been a problem. Is money. Samantha never have is always a issue with money. Don't have money for this. Don't have money for do that to do that. We was asking Patrice. We asked Patrice while he was on. So we just wanted to interested in hearing what if you had any different ideas. Do you have any ideas when it comes to making money for St. Martin that steps away from the traditional route of tourism is king?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'll be very upfront and say that, I think that we went way left when it comes to our tourism product. I think the shift to mass tourism, which is essentially cruise tourism, really deteriorated. Well, it kind of detracted from our uniqueness, from our specialness, if you will. And right now you kind of there's this vibe on the island where, and I don't know if Jean being here could also kind of weigh in on it, where it's like, we want to be a cruise destination, a luxury destination, a family destination, a nightlife destination, a nature destination. You really sometimes have to pick a niche. St. Bart's is a luxury destination.
Mhm.
That's bottom line. But they chose to focus on that. They chose, this is the route we're going, and this is where we're gonna stick. And that's why everybody always asks me like, yeah, but why St. Bart's why the private jets is park here? And then bebop their happy way over to St. Bart's, on a plane that does a crazy little tilt turn landing, and stay there for New Year. I said it's because they've positioned themselves as that, and that is what they wanted to be, and that is what they are. With us trying to cater to every single market, then no market is a priority, and then you kind of end up in this limbo where we're at, where we just take what we could get when we get it. But I think a lot of it is it's a lot of it is inflated. Yes, I always say the jets are here, but are they here? So
But
for
it's
me,
the same thing.
for us as a
Wait, I would
party, I
just I
think
would just like to add. Sorry, MP. I would just like to add to what MP saying there, and also because, like she mentioned, Sembats, chose specifically to focus on the luxury side of things. Here in St. Martin is all the different parts of the tourism that the MP mentioned is individuals or different people or groups that own companies that trying to create these markets. It's not like we sit down like at the top, let's say at I don't know, I think it would be Tiat would be in charge of that and say, okay, look, this is where the focus should be based on information. You know, it's just like somebody coming for a license to do XYZ and he can go over there and do this, and then somebody feel like yeah to do better and they can go over there, and so you can have a lot of little, whoever agree with which direction the next person going to, we just jump on that same bandwagon and try to
yeah,
offer services to make it a little bit more enticing, but we don't have a specific focal point, like what the MP was
yeah.
suggesting. We don't have that specifically.
Okay, but then
And
you
I
see,
think
but then my
right,
next question would be to the MP now is be like, how would we, or how do we as a people, because it going to take a wider group to put this vision together. How do we decide on one specific route or one specific market?
yeah,
Because with government falling every 2 months, this project starting, and then the next one starting, the next one, and then the other, and then Tom down the road say he could do it better. Dick down around the corner want to do his own way, but then Harry fuck the other one mother, and then it's a whole something. How
oh, we could talk on this podcast.
I exaggerate a bit more, but you understand where I'm going? With
Don't
so
tell me
many
to talk on this
visions,
podcast. 'Cause we could
how do we as a people stick to one specific? Oh,
no,
okay.
I think that requires looking at the data. It requires looking at the data, which I wish I
That we
could tell
don't
you that
have.
we have a plethora of data for it. It requires looking at the data and identifying, well, where do we get the most ROI? And then channeling, your energy into it and sticking to that vision. And I think, to touch a bit on the whole, well, government falling every 2 months, I think we have to also realize that as a people, we need to be a little more mature, from the politicians right on down to the civil servants, right on down to the public. And this is why when you look at and I don't like, comparing big countries to us normally, but I just look at comparing people and attitudes. A lot of times you hear, ministers and MPs talk about, like, for example, Singapore. Yeah, but Singapore has XYZ, and this is something that we could do there too, etc. And I'm like, yeah, but from a culturally, people over there, it's one band, one sound. This is where we going. Nobody jumps off the train, and that's how they get it done. Sometimes with a little authoritarian kind of push, but it happens. Um, we tend to plan visions for 4-year terms. For us as a party, we've structured the manifesto to look at the first year and then the next 3 years. But internally, we have discussions constantly about what does 20 years from now look like, 25 years, 30 years. Will we be around? I have no idea. But if something is there in place and it's a solid plan, then what is to stop anybody from executing it? And that needs to be the mantra. Um, Rotterdam, the plan for the city of Rotterdam, like Central, all of the changes to the market, etc. That's from a book that was written in the early 90s, late 80s, a 25-year vision for the city of Rotterdam. And it happened. It's still happening. But who was in government in the 80s was not in government now. But it still went on. You understand? It was still executed. And that's really the level of maturity that we need to get to, where it's like, okay, this is the vision, this is where we would like to be. Um, and we hope that future cabinets or councils or ministers or parliamentarians stick to it and execute it if it's for the good of the country. Right now, we just have ministers that are more concerned with the vote in the next 4 years than they are with, well, what is the country, what country do I want to leave when I'm not around?
But how but how do we but
It is hard.
how do we address that issue with people just
Yeah,
like, if I don't like you, so whatever you was working out, we're gonna scrap that, we're gonna start mine, like we
yeah,
don't have no
exactly.
continuity, like how do we address that?
It's gonna sound tough, but it maybe I sound like a broken record, but it really starts with what happens on election day. The only way that people can hold a government accountable or parliament accountable is by, even if you have to radically shift your vote. I mean, not to bring up, what is probably a sore panic point, but look at what's happened in the Netherlands.
Oh, I
You
was gonna wait.
understand?
I was gonna wait to bring that up, but I mean, since we here,
No, but what has happened in the Netherlands is a result of especially the VVD and especially Mark Rutte changing his politics to try to cater or capture a base that he had no business trying to capture. And what happens is you constantly shifting and doing balancing acts, and you're not making, sound decisions. You're not consulting with people. You alienate people, and then you allow persons who ultimately are poking at those people to activate, and then they just kind of say, well, yeah, let's just give the person who screams the loudest a chance and see what happens. But that is the most powerful tool that people have, is their vote, and we keep stressing it. And I don't think we've quite understood that yet, as a still young democracy, I guess. It's not something that we've really understood. People will tell you that they are, you got them, for lack of a better word, and pardon my French, you got them for up. They'll find a way to tell you that. And I think that that's what you see happening in the Netherlands. That's what you see happening in a lot of spots. And it's something that, we have to also pay close attention to here, because people are aggravated. And you either have that person don't vote, which happened because you had people staying home. I was speaking to, every Samaritan I know in Holland, I was like, I went out and vote, because I know a lot of former colleagues in the Netherlands that did not go out and vote out of frustration. But then look at what has occurred, which is also their right. But ultimately, it's how people tell you how they feel.
I was walking and I forget. I didn't even lie to you.
I used to do that first thing on the way to work, because I used to vote in Den Haag Central. So, on the way to the train, like, okay, pop, 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 and then get on the train and start the trek.
But outside of voting, right? Outside of voting, do we have a more meaningful way as well for the public to hold these representatives accountable? Do you think?
I think and
Outside of
maybe
just voting?
maybe it's gonna have to be one of you fine gentlemen. I think that the media has they should play a better role in getting information to the public, investigating what government is doing, what parliament is doing. Right now, and I hope none of them stop publishing my press releases as a result. But sometimes you don't get questions about those things. You send a press release, it's published. That's it. There's one person that always calls me to ask me questions about my press releases, or the press release that PFP sends out, and that's Steven Cerulean. He always calls and he says, "You have a moment for me?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then he'll ask me 1-2 questions about a press release. Why did I send these questions to the minister? What is my hope, in terms of an answer? And then he'll throw a curveball, and I'm on the phone like, but that's how it should be. You should get questioned about the things that you send out. It shouldn't be that the media turns into a propaganda machine for politicians. And you have certain persons that call themselves the media that then charge politicians to put press. We don't publish nothing with them. But they charge people, they put a paywall behind the information. And that's also not the way that media was meant to function, or the news rather was meant to function. So yeah.
But then how do you distinguish, or how should the people of St. Martin then distinguish between, say, somebody like a BB Shaw, or
I want names.
I go, okay, I go do it. I ain't done yet.
Over here, we just name names, MP. We just name names. We just talk to the people direct over here. We don't sugarcoat.
How should the people differentiate between somebody like a BB Shaw, the Daily Herald, the Today, was the latest correspondent now? We were talking about this last episode, fellas. Olivier, people like Olivier.
Oh, Oliver.
Like how should the people distinguish between all the information, the different sources of information?
Yeah. I wouldn't know if I would call Olivier media, but
no, but he got a phone and a camera, and he
got a phone and a camera, and that I think too is a part of it. You have like social media gave us rise to citizen journalists. And it's tough. Some of them are actually quite effective. They do their research. They present facts, not just speculation or opinions or thoughts. For me, I think that it also starts from the top, which is, do you legitimize these people just because they say that they're media. You understand? If you have people in your press briefing that cannot get a question out in one breath or with words, that are part of any language, I think that that is something that needs to be driven. And I'm not, and many people might misunderstand it as control, but it's not control. Journalism is a study for a reason. You understand? It's a study for a reason. Research is something that has to occur for a reason. Because if not, then you're just flying by the seat of your pants. But you have people who sit in press briefings who are media that get questions fed to them by ministers. You understand? I know it for a fact. I've seen it. So it's a planted question to make somebody who already has the answer give the answer smoothly when it comes to questions that are. And I think people need to also kind of critically think about, well, how does the person answer the question when journalist A asks it, and how do they answer when journalist B asks? Usually when journalist A asks, it's a stammering and a stuttering and I will have to check, etc. Because that's a genuine question. It's come right off the bat. It's caught the person off guard. They don't really know, where they're going. And they have to think for a minute to get to the response. When it's a planted question, I can always tell. It's so funny because it's pretty obvious to me when it's a planted question because the answer comes like that. Like they had it memorized, they were reading in the back, like when you cramming for a test right before that half hour, you just like the square root of whatever is whatever, and then you just go in and I nailed it. But it was coming. And I think this has to start from school age, and it hasn't and it doesn't. And education is a whole other episode on its own, and the ways in which we have kind of failed to prepare our population to critically think and to apply that to their democratic process and to their leadership. People here celebrate ministers pounding their chest because they did what is actually in their job description. Like it's
I mean, we kind of on a low bar at this point, we got to take what we could get. So.
I guess.
At this point, we grasp with our straws. So with that being said, what since we kind of, I ain't gonna say you said it, I go say this. Some other people don't like to read. So I know PFP put up the manifesto and stuff like that. So verbally, how you can tell the people like what would be the top 3 things that y'all would or you guys would focus on if you get in.
The manifesto. I know people don't like to read, which is why this time around we also did short videos explaining, the sections of the manifesto. Because I paid attention in marketing class. I know that the more condensed you could give them the content, the better it will be. But the manifesto follows the same structure as it did the last time around. It's 5 key areas that we're focusing on. The first of which is, of course, our financial stability, the financial management of the country. How does government do things? How does government spend money? How does it collect money? Where does that money go? How is it allocated? And how is it accounted for? That was loud. Because MP Peterson has spoken, we both have spoken exhaustively about this LBHAM for tendering, which is a policy that needs to cover the whole of government. Right now, tendering in each ministry is done by, what side of the bed did the minister wake up on? And then it's just a different terms of reference each time. The terms of reference, as we saw with the ombudsman, can shift while the tendering process is going on, which is what she put in her report on the waste management and garbage collection, tender process from 2021. So until you put these tools in place to actually force ministries to tender in a certain way, money will go wild. Included in that financial stability section is tax reform. Approaching how do we tax businesses, how do we tax people, simplifying the tax brackets, while of course looking at other avenues for generating income. And a part of that is improving our digital infrastructure, because you have persons that are trying to access platforms that they can't. And we have no real ICT or digital vision, which a lot of people don't know, that the government ministry, via the Ministry of TEAT, is supposed to set the country's ICT vision, and then BTP, as a regulator, has to execute that and get the companies in the community to execute that. And right now, there is no actual, I don't believe there's a vision. I've asked for it. It has never been sent to me. The second section is dealing with infrastructure, improving waste management, a lot of which is already being handled via the trust fund and via that ongoing project with a dump, and environmental care. And, I think I've read one or two, glimpsed through one or two other manifestos, and I hope that parties are remembering that we are currently under a mutual agreement with the Netherlands regarding structural reform. So anything you put in your manifesto should be in line with what is already coming. Luckily for us, our first manifesto already had in a lot of the reforms that came in the country package after, like during COVID times. The third section is dynamic and progressive education. We've rethought our approach to special education. Most people say, well, we need a special education school for those kids. But as I talk to educators, especially on a daycare level, and I mentioned this recently in an interview, you have the daycares signaling that they're seeing a rise in ADHD, in what looks to be children sitting on the autism spectrum, etc. So now those kids are at daycare, In another 5 years, they enter into the regular public, or whatever education stream. And then in another 10 years after that, they're in high school, etc. So are you going to put all of them in one school, or do you have to rethink your approach, which we did, and then make it so that you seek to make all schools inclusive for special needs education, while having a school for the more severe cases? Because as we know, autism is a spectrum. You have high functioning autism. You have those who really, those persons who definitely need their own space dedicated and built specifically for them. So you have to find that balance in the community to properly address it. And then we have sensible energy for the climate change reality, which of course seeks to continue the grid market project that has been started by this current administration, because I don't think it's a bad project, but also to kind of give GB a kick in the butt to kind of move on, their 2% renewable energy requirement in their concession. There is no, I've had conversations with previous managers of GB that said, well, it's not possible for us to really go towards renewable energy. And I'm just like,
why not?
This ball in the sky that seeks to cook me every day. What? Hey, bro, it's really and I'm just like, am I a joke to you? Like, that's what I know. So the son have me saying, am I a joke to you, GB? Because, bruh. Yeah. And then, yeah.
Listen.
And then, yeah, John. I had one more point.
No, go ahead. We can't focus yet.
The last focal point in the...
Yeah, stupid.
The last focal point is a healthier, stronger St. Martin. So focusing on, improving the attention paid to sports, and also the improvement in our healthcare itself. I'm deeply concerned with what in our first meeting regarding the hospital project as Parliament, I asked the question, were plans, was there consideration given, and has there been a plan built into this project for a psych ward to handle mental health patients who need medical care and attention? And the answer was no. And I said, okay. So to me, I think, and that again is thinking about everything that can go wrong. I know sometimes people say, well, you just sound like doom and gloom. I'm like, no, it's not about doom and gloom to think about what could go wrong, because that's how you can avoid it, And there was a point in time cars didn't have seatbelts. And then they were like, oh wait, maybe when these things hit things, people might fly out. So let's put something in to strap
Yeah.
them down, you know? Yeah, like that's so I think
To be
these are
fair,
the
though,
We have Volvo to thank for that.
I
huh?
think some people flew through some windows first before
We
they
have
actually
we
do a
have
seat.
Volvo to thank for that. Volvo is the company who came up with seatbelts. Well, who applied seatbelts.
Yeah.
And
So
then
so I think
crazy enough, it was a lady who invented seatbelts.
yeah. So I think that we try to look at all of those things while and those are just like not small, but those are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to addressing the things that are holding the country back. For me, I look at our digital future as a primary thing. As a gamer, I'd be struggling.
Yo,
You know what it is to go in your role. I mean, Jean knows what it is. So you go in your role to management, and you're like, okay, let me turn off this, and that. Send everything to the PS5, and let's just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Maybe when I
Fingers crossed, toes
on
crossed,
ping
everything crossed,
pong,
eyes crossed,
will it
everything.
will reach him by the time the lag is over. It's so yeah. So
we'd
it's
be tripping.
it's
We'd
those
be
are
tripping
things
at
that I
our
think about.
partners can't done.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's why I don't give nobody in Holland. They'll be, like, they'll be like, you want to hop on thing? No, I don't want to hop on anything. Warzone, I don't want to hop on nothing with you, sir.
Oh, it'll be
But
bad.
so I think like those we are already behind. When last year Barbados announced that they were opening up a game testing company, all I could do is just shake my fist in frustration, because we could have been there. We
Yeah.
it's really just about having a vision and then bringing people in to say, look, no matter what, let's stick to this.
But
If we were to be in government and we set a ICT vision for the country that is sound and that will take St. Martin, not even take it into the future, bring it to where others already are. I think that if we're not blessed to be back in government after that, then it should just continue. Likewise, if there was something there that made sense, we would continue it. And we actually put that in the manifesto, a continuation of existing viable and sustainable projects. If it's good for the country, we pledge to continue it. But if it's just a vanity project, for you to be able to say, oh, I install a backboard here on a court, or I painted a bench, or whatever, like that's a vanity project. And no, that's not actually having a tangible long-term impact on the country.
there's a lot of things I would like to ask questions about when from what you say there. But I think I'm gonna go into some of the main points that people want to be to ask. When it comes to the students now, so we have briefly talked about that in the beginning. Melissa, what reason we have to come back?
I used to ask the same thing.
I
And
still
even
wait.
now, no, listen, even now, people like, I tell people, look, to be here, you really have to love here now. When I moved back after my master's, there were days I was driving around, and that was, we thought, well, I'm gonna date myself, but we talking like 2006-ish, somewhere there. When I came back with my master's, there be days I was driving around like, what have I done? And I think a lot of people go through. No, really, I think a lot of people go through that where they're like, what have I done? Like,
I only know one person. I only know one person that was vehemently like dead set on going back to Martin, and that was Jean.
Yeah.
man,
My
love the
mother,
home. What
my
can I
mother
do?
down here. My mother down here. I can't leave the lady like that.
My parents are here. My sister had already moved back,
Yeah,
so I had my
yeah,
friends, my extended family in Holland, but it's home. But also, I had a plan. I was like, okay, we're gonna go home. We're going to
yeah.
work. The
That
plan is to
too.
start this party, see what happens, and hope that I can be able to have some kind of lasting impact on my country. But a lot of people struggle with that. And I think what
Yeah,
is good is if you come down and you're by yourself, you're not gonna make it. And when I say by yourself, I don't mean you come down with a partner, like your partner, your woman, your man, whatever. I don't mean that. I mean that you come down and you have like-minded people to talk to and to keep you going. When I moved back after my master's, I very much was like alone in that regard. I didn't have people to have the types of conversations I have with Raeyhon, or with Mavio, or with Ludi, with Jean, Krista, a bunch of people. Like I didn't have that nest around me. But then coming back the second time around, I had that. Other people came back around the same time as me, people that I knew in Holland, people that I vaguely knew in Holland, but then got to know better here on St. Martin. Persons that I met at UTS, I had people to be able to have those, because sometimes you need somebody to vent with that's going to understand where you're coming from, that's going to understand that it shouldn't actually take 4 or 5 months to get a bank account. It shouldn't actually take a month to get an appointment to get an ID. You shouldn't actually, like, why is there paper for me to file my taxes? Filing my bill last thing in Holland was like download, click, yes, no, yes, no, yes, like multiple choice.
Yep.
And then press a button. Okay, and I used to forget that I filed my taxes. I hit download and still, and then they're like, but you've already done it. Oh, okay. That's how simple it was. So it's good to have you need a support system, is what I mean. In terms of cost of living, I also think that is a detractor for students, for young professionals. Yeah, for young professionals. Having to come from living on your own to maybe moving back in with your parents, because you can't find an apartment here. Like all of these are factors, but the sometimes you hear people tell you, well, you should just come back anyway because it's your home. And I'm like, in this global village, that is not a reason. That's not enough anymore.
No.
It's not enough anymore. So you really have to, and I think it's a double-edged sword, because without young professionals coming back, you can't actually make the changes that you would like to make, because we lack capacity. And I don't mean capacity in the sense of bodies, because a lot of times I think when people hear capacity, they think, they just need 5 more people in this department. No, because you could have 10 people in the department and they're doing, the work of maybe one, in the sense of nobody's doing anything. They're just sitting on the chair watching YouTube all day. Or you could have 5 competent people, because that's what capacity is. It's brains, it's competency, it's experience. And then you plug them in and you just let them go. And I think too, when they talk about young people coming back to work for government, you need to have people in government that are willing to give them that opportunity and not micromanage them and tell them, dying a walk here. Like, from a political perspective, we also had to kind of deal with, but I ain't gonna walk, Melissa. When we would run in our first campaign, I told my dad, well, we're not gonna give away free food and drinks at the town hall meetings. He said, but what are you gonna do? I said, well, we're gonna invite a caterer from the district that we're gonna be in. We're gonna ask them to, develop a snack box, $5-6 max, and they sell that and they keep that money. The caterer gets exposure. People, contribute to a young entrepreneur in the community, and we get people to come listen to our message. Dying a walk, he told me, other people told me, all the persons who'd been around the chicken leg and Johnny Cake politics in St. Martin told me, dying a walk. First town hall meeting, the caterer sold out. Second town hall meeting, the caterer sold out. So you have to give the option. You have to put it in front of people to see if it's going to work. You can't just say, but I ain't gonna work. And a lot of young people have left government, who we need in government desperately, because of that. And they say they're going to do, I remember MP Westcott had asked the Prime Minister, well, why have 21 persons left government? And that was a year or so ago. 21 people in a year. You ever hear people leaving a government job when you were, no, that's always been something where you're like, you don't leave government. That's the most stable thing you could have. But you had 21 people, a lot of whom were young people, who left because their work has no value. It's different now. We're not our parents. We're not going to stay somewhere for 38 years and feel like our work is not valued. We're going to give you 2-3 years. And if you don't show us that you know what we're worth, we're gone. That's the mentality of our generation now, and the generations after me.
But you see, but that's the issue. That's one of the issues as well, because we for lack of a better term, know our worth more. Just like how you said, we're not going to stay there longer for the bullshit, like how our parents would. But then even that, I ask this question again because, for example, we have a mutual friend that trying to bring this organization and this thing down to St. Martin, and she just tried to pitch her ideas with me. But enough times I'd be like, why? Why you putting yourself through that headache? Because you know how St. Martin people be. They
Yeah,
either will not come out or they gonna come and complain. So
yeah,
why bother push that on some why bother push that when it will just be a bigger headache for you. And with saying that, I realized that I still waiting for a positive reason for any young person to go back to St. Martin. 'Cause
yeah. No, I agree.
if you don't have a reason other than you, like lumber, like your mother or your family, something personal, that's personal. What reason you have to go back? And if that's
Yeah,
the mentality of us and other ones who forward thinking and who have the
yeah,
education training, how
yeah.
St. Martin will go any further?
But you see, and I believe that the powers that be know that, which is why there was this push to send children within the region to study or send them to the States instead of sending them to Holland. Because look, when you go to the States, you don't have a choice to move, but you have to move back. You finish your degree or your
That's true.
degrees, and unless you get OPT, optional practical training, you gotta go. And even then, you maybe got a year or two in the States, and then if the company don't sponsor you, pack your bags. You understand? So it's to me that was done by design to kind of force students to not have a choice. When you go Holland, the world is your oyster. You're a Dutch citizen. You could work where you want. Do whatever, apply for whatever job, and you're there. But when you're elsewhere, you kind of get funneled into this where you have to come back. You got no choice because you can't stay where you are freely. So I think I don't have the answer for that. Let me put it like that. It really is if
Respect.
you really have to want to be here. And I am very honest about it with everybody. We were there for IPCO in June, and the vice president of parliament said, you are here building another man's country, and you need to come home and build your own country. And the first table I went to, I told the two young ladies there, I was like, listen, I don't subscribe to that now. If you want to stay here a couple of years, you can do that. Like there is no I'm not going to tell persons to come here if they're not prepared. Because it is a shock. It's a reverse culture shock.
Yeah.
Sean could tell you I've had it twice. I've had it twice where I came home, so many things had changed and yet nothing had changed. 2006. And then I left 2009. I came back home 2016. So many things had changed and yet nothing had changed.
It's just a facelift. Every couple of
You
years, they just
understand?
get a
So
new
it's
facelift.
it's and that is something that it does shock you. And again, because I had a plan, because I knew what I wanted to do, I stayed. But I can't say for a fact that if I had done it, like if I had tried, 2, 3 elections, let's say, and still hadn't gotten elected or to a point of, where I could be part of the decision making process, I probably would have left again. I probably would have left again, because I'm not gonna break my head against a brick wall. So I do say for that, as to piggyback on that, I say if you want to come home and give it a try, it's entirely within your power and entirely within your right. But if it's not for you, if you're young, you got no chick, no child, you could do whatever you want to, leave again. And I've said that to young professionals here who were frustrated with government, working in government 3 years, and every year you get told to write a plan for the same thing that you wrote a plan for the year before. I had a friend who was just taking the plan out and just dusting it off, changing the date, and handing the same plan. Like, yeah, this is last year. It's the same thing. Nothing moves. And you need to feel now, our generation, you need to feel value, that your work is valued and appreciated, and that something will be done. I don't want to write no report. I don't want to write no plan, and it just sits on a shelf. You understand? So it's that frustration. So I can't say, it's going to immediately get better because, like I said earlier, it is a double-edged sword in that we need young people to impact change, but then we also need to make it hospitable for young people, and right now it's not.
Mhm.
So it really is, if you want to be here, then you can be here. But if you're not ready, or you feel like maybe I need 2 more years abroad, 5 more years abroad, that's also entirely possible. I never try to make people feel like they have to come home. I also had that told to me by a former minister of education that I'm here, working for the Dutchman, and I should be home working for St. Martin, and I'm like, St. Martin didn't give me a job.
Okay.
Like when I came back after my masters, I applied to every government-owned company. And I applied to my old job at Sinesta Maho, and the only one to answer me was Sinesta Maho. The airport never responded, Tell them never responded, so and that's why I was tell people sometimes like, oh, you maybe feel like special because I was master doctor, but that won't necessarily win you favors. That's not how I was raised, first of all, to expect favors, but
Yeah.
even with the qualifications, I didn't even get a text back, bro.
Yeah,
I understand.
that's fact. I experienced that myself. I experienced that myself. I experienced that myself. And it's the same conversation that I have with you, bro. When I just tell you, like, at the end of the day, it gotta make sense for you first.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
don't gotta make
exactly.
sense for nobody around you. It gotta make sense for you. I know why I here. The MP know why she here. The next person know why he or she here. It gotta make sense
Exactly.
for you first.
Ain't no
If it
party,
don't
ain't no
make sense for
competition,
you, don't do it, bro.
Yep.
ain't no
Don't do it. The thing
politician,
is
no
what it.
whoever could make you feel like like it really has to make sense to you, because otherwise what's gonna happen is you
Yeah,
come down, you get disenchanted, and then you're gone, and then you're gone for good.
yeah.
Yep.
It really has
And
to be like John
It,
says, sense to you. Like you don't feel it makes sense, fine. And that's the thing too. Like I
it
don't
don't.
feel you need to make
Yeah,
people feel like they're trapped. We need to also involve those who don't maybe feel like they need to come back in the process. In you have to make people feel welcome to come back to their country. I didn't necessarily feel welcome coming back after my masters.
yep.
To go away and work hard, and you get your degrees and whatever, and you come home, and then not even the courtesy of a no.
Oh
I know
yeah.
some
yeah.
people
Listen,
who have applied
it
for a
took me.
job when they
Listen,
move back
listen. It
and
took me.
2 years later
It
they get an email. Are you still interested? I
Yep.
live in
it
Ah.
took me
Australia
8 months.
now.
Yeah.
It took me 8 months to ride back into this island, dog. 8 whole months, dog. 8 months. I landed in St. Martin on October 18th, okay, 2018. I didn't get written in until sometime in May, dog. May, June time. Take me 8 months to get written back in after coming back. Eight
But
months.
all of that is part of the process that the MP was
Exactly.
talking about earlier. That the
Yeah,
infrastructure and that all that could be part of the IT infrastructure that
yeah.
needs to be upgraded as well. But I want to go quickly because I see we slowly running out of time.
But we got time to the Raeyhon get your man. So yeah, it's fine.
Okay, all right, cool. I go, but either way, Trey, I want to switch it a little bit to we were talking about the results up here in Holland. What does, if anything, what does the election results up here in Holland mean for St. Martiners up here, or
I
what do
think
you
we
feel it
have
means
to.
for us up here?
Yeah, I think we discuss. Actually, it's funny because the results came out the Wednesday, and Raeyhon and I were on Lady Grey's the Thursday. But the Wednesday night, we spoke to each other, and I said, we should sit with the team, this week, and kind of strategize a bit and discuss the results in Holland and how does it impact St. Martin and such. And then the Thursday, Lady Grace hit us with a question. And I was like, ah. But because it is on everybody's mind. And I'll tell you, like I told Grace, I believe we need to wait and see what happens, because Holland is notorious for taking forever and a day to form a government. Somebody joked to me that maybe this was Brita's plan all along, to just be demissionaire until the next election, because nobody wants to form a government and nothing might come out of it. But we really have to just kind of monitor the situation. I see that they appointed the informateur already to kind of see what possibilities exist in terms of a coalition. And it's something that we're monitoring as well, because regardless, jump high, jump low, it will have an impact on St. Martin. I also kind of sense that Wilders is kind of walking back a lot of what he has said. Not walking it back necessarily, but it's kind of toned down. It's kind of quieted down. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's because he's trying to, show that it's not so bad, that maybe we can just work together. I'm not that, volatile or so. But it's really something that we're looking at closely, because it could have serious implications for us. But until such time as we know what, if any coalition, what it's going to look like, we really can't. We could just speculate,
Again,
But I try not to panic. I said it once in Parliament. They say when Trump was elected, somebody said this is not a time to panic. It is a time to act. start strategizing, start thinking about, well, what could be. And again, this is part of again, as a gamer, tabletop gaming, you'd have those scenarios where it's like, if this then what, or
Yeah.
if that then what,
Yeah.
and kind of have that in your back pocket for when it comes, if it comes at all. Yeah.
Quickly,
Sound like an
side
Excel
note,
formula, but
you,
I just sent a LinkedIn.
okay, all right. Thanks. So, but why? Okay, why I asked that question, because also is kind of like we right now in the, how to say, the European version of what America went through,
Yeah.
and a lot of what I feeling and thinking is like, okay, a lot of stuff had changed when Trump was in, but major line, the day to day, the normal everyday day to day was the same bullshit. It was the same
Yeah.
thing. So like I had a few friends was like, oh my God, Sean, what do you think? Don't you feel away and stuff like that? Like my daily life probably not going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you say, wait and see. It don't make sense
Yes.
like throwing the baby out to the bathwater one time.
Yeah,
if
to
you
panic
see
about it. Yeah.
what
And
happens.
the last time PVV was in, so to speak, the Netherlands went back to the polls in 2 years. Things like that, it's rare that they last,
Okay.
so it's really, let's see what comes out of this informateur, and what is identified as possible coalitions, and then we can continue to strategize from there, and come up with ways to mitigate any kind of fallout for us.
Right. Because obviously is it going to have an impact on St. Martin as well, but like for the St. Martiners outside up here, because some of this man, some of his major policies has been like with against the foreigners and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So it's like, well, what's going to happen with us? Are we going to be targeted now? It's not just us; it's us and the Moroccans, it's Africans,
Yeah. Yeah.
is Surinamas, is all of that. So like, what do you think it'll be have immediate impact, or is just again it don't make sense to speculate and fearmonger? It's just a wait and see type something.
I don't, if this was the States, I would say yes, but mostly from the public to those groups, because that is how the States operates. For the Netherlands, I'm not really sure. I've heard feedback from some St. Martin friends in different cities where they're like, yeah, it's different here. It's not like when you lived here, etc. I don't experience it, so I don't know. But that's very much the the sentiment that I have towards it. For me, I think train of thought. For me, I think that you just have to, it might there might be some changes in terms of people's attitudes towards each other, and that's my main concern. Because Trump did something where he emboldened, the Muppets in the States to kind of come out of their hovels and be more vocal, with their biases and their prejudices. And that, I think, is my primary concern. But yeah, I think people should just remain aware, remain vigilant, but not kind of panic about it, because we really have to see if it's even going to come to. They may end up at a stalemate. You never know. It might not be able to work. Yeah.
But not only that, playing devil's advocate a little bit, because you say you're also worried a bit about people's attitudes. Just because somebody might have voted for Vivide does not necessarily mean they're racist, so they want all foreigners to go home,
Yeah.
or they're against.
And that's, yes, exactly. And that's an interesting point you touch on, because you know what that is? That is part of something that I tell people all the time. People vote very individualistic.
on
They
their
look at
interest.
single issues. They look at, okay, I care about this, so I'm going to vote,
This
for
person,
this
yeah,
person.
yeah.
But because I had someone say that they agree with 2 of his points on his 9-point thing. And the 2 points that they agreed with, I can only remember one right now, was the lowering of salaries, for those high-level officials. Many people get behind that. But, you have to read the rest, because democracy is meant to be for the people, by all the people, not just by what you think is important.
Yeah.
And people will vote because, well, he wants to cut salaries. I'm 100% for it. But at the same time, he also wants to sacrifice kittens, you know, to be able to bring rain down. Like that's so you have to think, what about the kittens, man? And so it's like, so that's the thing of it. I'm like, people vote for what they care about. And nobody thinks about the Moroccans, nobody thinks about the Polish, nobody thinks about the Turks, nobody thinks about the kittens. You understand? So you have to say, it's really, if I say it all the time, you know, we vote on the me, not knowing that the one thing that I'm voting on, yeah, it might be good, but everything else is also going to impact the whole. And I am part of that whole. You know, whether you're white, black, brown, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like you are part of the entire thing. Like if I were to say, you know, well, if PFP gets in, you know, we're gonna cut salaries, yeah, but we're also going to round up everybody, and within 2 months, you know, if you're illegal, blah blah blah, we're going to deport you. There's a cost to that. People might say, you know, yeah, they're gonna cut salaries, but they don't think about what happens with the rest of the stuff I want to do. Everything has a cost, whether it's to the moral fabric of your society or to the pockets of your society. And until people start to think about the we instead of just, well, you know, I would like to see politicians earn less, but I actually don't care. You know, I don't know if I care that much about kittens, then you're not going to get anywhere. You should just care about kittens, not just because they're adorable, but because they're part of the society you live in. And that's just put it as a very basic example.
But also, but you hit a very how I would say a basic need to a certain extent, for lack of a better term, that everybody goes through. It's just like how to explain this properly. It's like you don't know what going on unless you're actually going through it.
Yeah.
You don't know how it is to deal with somebody with cancer unless you either have it or somebody you love you don't know what that process is.
Exactly.
But
look,
so
I don't have kids.
That disconnect.
Exactly. But again, it's having to think like a collective, man. I don't have kids. You know, I love kids, but I also love giving them back at the end of the day. You know, but like that doesn't mean I don't care about education, that I don't think that our schools need to be better, that I don't think children should be protected. You understand? So if you can't put yourself, take yourself out of yourself and say, you know what, I definitely want to protect children, so I'm going to vote for the party or the person that resonates with that, while also hitting the other points that I think are important. But you'll have people who say, I don't really care about children, so I'm just going to vote for this guy because he actually cares about, you know, increasing, you know, nightlife hours to 6 a.m. What are you doing? You're not thinking about, you know, the whole, and you really do have to do that. And you're not going to please everybody every time, all the time, but you have to at least get to a point where, look, I don't necessarily, you know, I don't own a business. I don't really care about business owners like that because I don't own one, but I think they should have a fair shot. So I'm going to vote for the person that's going to make life easier for them. I'm going to vote for the person who's going to take care of children. I'm going to vote for the person who cares about domestic violence. I'm going to, you know, like you have to find the middle, the person that matches as much of the whole as you can.
Yeah, but
it's tough. I'm not saying it's easy, because the thing is you have people that will swing where they know they can get support. And that I think, again, when I go back to the first time you asked me about this is a large thing as well about, you know, the VVD leaning more right to be able to cater to a base that they were afraid of, and now you've lost yourself, and your original base is like,
what going on? What about us?
You know, like what's going on? Like, so yeah, so that's the yeah, Jean? What?
Now I was going to say a lot of what we discussed so far have to do a lot with when I first met you guys, when I first met PFP. The main thing that was being discussed, I think, was also in the first manifesto, was informing the people. You know, I personally really believe a lot of people still, and I could actually say myself included, are not informed enough to think, you know, along the lines of how you're describing there. So just now, you know, I think that's the biggest issue we have. And like, if I don't know something, I can relate to something or I can add it to my thought process. Because
Yeah.
it's only by way of information can we like open up, our horizons and our thought process and take in a lot of additional stuff, when we're making decisions. I really
Yeah.
think a lot of people really, 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 really not informed enough. I think that's the
Yeah. And
problem.
I
That's the
think
biggest
that,
problem that we have in.
and I think historically our politicians have liked that. And what it is to I said when we handed in the list on Wednesday that people are tired. They are exhausted. When I don't know
Yeah.
if Jean feels it, but when I talk to people here, when I walk around here on St. Martin, I feel how tired people are. And tired
Mhm.
people don't care about reading, they don't care about whatever, they don't really care about anything. They just are going through the motions. They don't bother to
Yeah.
get informed. I have people who I know, are PFP supporters who are like, honestly, I'm backing you guys, but I don't have the space to consume anything dealing with politics right now. So I try, we always try to condense it down and make it simple. Um, because we know that people are tired. Heck, I am tired. Sometimes I sit in meetings and I'm just listening. I'm like, it's the twilight zone
I can
because
only
people
imagine.
Yo,
don't
your
live in
face for the people
acting like, huh?
for the people who don't for the people who do not tune in, your facial expression let us know exactly how you're feeling.
Yep, yep.
For those that
I
don't
got
tune
you. Ray,
in,
but Ray, too,
anybody
same
that
thing.
tune in could understand exactly what I'm saying.
Same thing to same
Okay?
thing with
When
just
somebody says something else alkaline, Mel face
Listen,
has twist up so bad
the
that
amount of WhatsApp stickers I have gotten of my face are gonna have me frightened. As soon as I see myself in the camera, I'll be like, let me the view.
yo,
Because no, sometimes people will
listen,
say something, especially when they catch me from here, because my eyebrows have a mind of their own. They'll be
yo, it's true, dog, it's true.
like, what?
It's true, dog. It's true.
No, because sometimes because it's fascinating. It's fascinating the things that I hear people like my colleagues say, and maybe it makes me a bad politician to not just want to say things because they sound snappy or snazzy or whatever, but I just try to say the facts. When you have MPs that make it sound as though the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, a lot of their members are our tourism competitors, and that's why they want us to do all these regulations for anti-money laundering, because if we're on the blacklist, then they can attract our tourism market. And I'm like,
what?
I just had to turn around because the person sits behind me, and I don't want to call no names, but I'm sure you could guess if you look at the meeting who it was. But I just turned around like, bruh, what? Like, that's ludicrous to me. It's not, and it's not fair to the people because that is a lie. That's literally a lie told on purpose to confuse people. And I've had people repeat things back to me. But yeah, it's like what things say in Parliament. This is why they're doing it. And I'm like, actually, no. And then I always take my time. I explain it to them whether I'm in the supermarket, because that happens a lot. Here I am just trying to buy eggs and people stop me. And that's fine because I don't have a problem explaining to people the reality of what it is. During COVID, during COVID, a few months after
Sorry,
getting,
I pictured it. Melissa just trying to buy bread, grab her shit. But what was going on last week? What?
no,
I
it
didn't
really
try to buy
happened.
eggs, miss.
It really happened where I'm just there. I'm like, okay,
But
this cheese or the other cheese. I'm there looking at the cheese and
Imagine
I'm
they reach
looking
for
at
the
the
same
sauce.
loaf. They reach for the same loaf and the conversation start.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
but at the same
It's
time, we can't feel bad for you because this party, the job you signed up for.
Yeah, no, it is, and I don't mind it at all. Like that to me, sometimes it's funny. You
Mhm.
understand? And it's also funny when people kind of like look at me in public, like they think they know who I am, but then they don't. I had a cashier at one of the supermarkets watch me every time I go there because it's near where I live. She watched me hard, and I'm like, okay, one day the question gonna come, and then she say, she was like, The third time she did it, she worked up the courage and she say, you just walk SZV? And I was like, no man, I live there a long time.
That's how she break the ice, really?
But MP, we're going to we know you have a hard stop. Well, we kind of went over that a bit, but we also have MP Peterson waiting as well. So we want to say thank you very much for
thank you for having me,
for spending your time with us. We know both are you busy
Appreciate
around
it.
this time, but we really do appreciate it. Thanks for all the information, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
No, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for the invite, and thanks, for doing this, because these types of things are also important. This is the citizen journalism that we talk about, and this is the stuff that I would like to make more accessible for people here by having internet. That don't mean that my character in Call of Duty is still stuck on the roof. Well,
none of us here got any degrees in journalism, nothing like that. So we are much just as bad as the Oliviers or
No. I think look, is the way that people approach it is if you're coming at citizen journalism from a point of I want to get facts out to people and correct information, that's perfectly fine. But if you're coming from I just want to be an agitator and I just want to stir the pot and throw grenades, and cause chaos. Then that's where.
That too, but that's
grenades have their purpose now. John could tell you.
Yeah. I know about them. I know all about grenades.
Bye. Before we get off on a tangent, again, MP, we really appreciate you coming through. Good luck with the campaign and everything, and we look forward to seeing all the progress y'all doing with the island.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon. All right, and we're going to jump from one to the next.
Yes, sir.
Here we go, Mr.
Peterson.
What's up, guys?
Thank you
for
joining us today. We really appreciate it. Again, like I was telling Melissa, we know y'all busy, and especially around this time, we really do appreciate you sitting down with us and answering a few questions and talking to the people them a bit.
For sure. What's up? What's going on this Sunday?
Let's jump into it. For those of us who might not know you, how we give us a small introduction? What led you into politics? Just a little background.
Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Ray Peterson. How I got into politics is actually a funny story. Everybody else seems to have like an inspirational story, where they got inspired. I don't. At all. It was actually more of a frustration point where I was like, nah, something got to be done. So I moved to the island in 2016 after I finished my degree in Holland. I studied law, and then I came down to the island, went to Canada first for a couple of months. And then I came down here in the beginning of 2016, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to settle in St. Martin, where my dad's from. And my lucky self got a job in the Ministry of Romy in the Department of Land, Domain Affairs. And needless to say, within 2 years, the amount of corruption that I saw kind of propelled me into where I am right now. So it's rough. It's been rough. It still is rough, but that's why we're here.
So you more of a put your money where your mouth is type situation.
Exactly. I'm not here for all the talks. You see a lot of candidates coming with a lot of promises and a lot of talks. There is nothing nice to say from what's going on and what needs to be done. So
I just try, or at least recently I've been trying to not talk about St. Martin in such a low light, or at least with some more positivity. But sometimes it'll be hard.
Yep, it'll
be hard. So with that, okay. So then let's start with the questions. Then, how you feel instead of going into the negative? How you feel, or what are the ways you think we could start bettering St. Martin as a whole? Let me ask on a general perspective for now.
To start off, more honesty coming from government. Just tell people how it is. You have certain situations right now where if government would just be honest from day one, then the situation wouldn't go be what it is now. The police, for example, the police and their salaries, something that's structurally been happening since 2011, 2012, coming up to now. The fact is there is no money. If you don't tell the people that there is no money, and you're going to tell them that you're going to somehow find 41 million guilders. That's nice to say, and it's nice to give people hope. But unless you have that money coming in, unless there's already a budget amendment put in place for that, which there isn't, then it's all politics. And I don't, so anytime I get a question from a police, for example, I tell them the truth. I say, listen, it's no. Don't believe that once they push the budget through, that 3 days after everybody's going to get their cash. You're not. You're probably not going to get it up until next year, the end of next year, and that's me putting it lightly. And just like that, there are so many other situations. And when it comes to giving off a land, when it comes to giving off contracts, when it comes to giving off permits, just tell people the truth. And don't give them the run around, hoping that they would stay on your team up until election, because after that,
But at the same time, we've been seeing this run around. As those of us who 30 plus, we've been seeing this run around for at least 3 decades. From since our parents was young.
Yep.
So what makes now any different?
To be honest, nothing makes it different. It's just the people. It's just the characters. The arena stays the same. The tricks stay the same. We see them. It's campaign time right now. But being in Parliament for the last 4 years, I learned 2 things. One of them is that the title means nothing. Being one of the 15 means absolutely nothing. You can be honorable, but unless you have the support of the majority, you're just going to be another loudmouth, and everything that you propose is going to get shot down. That's just reality. That's just how it works. But also, the second thing I learned is that if you don't stray, if you just don't compromise and you stick the course, eventually people will see the light. And this last term, MP De Weaver, for example, saw the light. Why? Not because we actively tried to convince her to come on a team. It's because she observed how me and MP Mel were, how we did not stray. When the calls came to drop government, to become Minister of Romy, to give us this, to give us that, we said, no. We're not part of the show. And it literally starts from within, and it sounds like a cliche, but there's 15 of us, and that's it. It's micromanageable. And the fact that they do not have the country's best interest at heart and just what they individually want, and that's the reason why it still goes into the circle. But by the end of the day, if 8 of the 15 people elected had their heads in the right mindset, then it's easy. It's easy. And that's why I'm still hopeful, but there is nothing to smile about, because we know what situation is currently. I can hope for the best, but we're not there yet.
But then,
Okay, I have a quick question. I also asked MP Gumbs, and I asked you as well. Aside from voting, what is a way that we as the community can hold those persons accountable for their actions?
You see, that's it's kind of hard. Of course, you have the ways of the media. I always say that the media is the fourth power. But other than that, the only actual avenue that you have to hold, for example, the executive branch, ministers accountable, is through your representatives. That's what the Constitution says. We are the ones who have what we call the controller and the taak. So to actually hold them accountable within their function is my job. It gets put in a back seat a lot because it's a coalition, it's your friends or whatever. So when the time for accountability comes, that's when people need to pay attention, because you can't do anything to the Minister of Rome. You can file complaints, you can take it to court. By the end of the day, I don't advise people to just step to court slightly, because first of all, it's money. Second of all, government is a big party, so you're not going to beat him by force. And third of all, government has a way to also play games when it comes to the law. The Minister of Romy, for example, was being investigated for the over the bank land saga. And within the law, within the ombudsman's law, it says that if there is a court case pending for such a case, then the ombudsman authority goes in the back seat, because then you have to wait for the judge. The ombudsman was researching this case for, I think, more than a year, 2 years, when the minister decided, he can't afford another systemic report from the ombudsman, basically saying that he's corrupt. He took it to court, basically stopping the ombudsman in her authority. She had to halt the investigation. Why? Simply because, we don't want that report to come out. Nothing's happened to the case. I think it's still appeal. It's still ongoing. And they're just basically waiting. So to hold them accountable it's hard, guys. It's hard. The only thing you can do is hold them accountable through the court of public opinion, but that's about it. That's about it. You need your representatives to actually pull them up, and yeah, actually do it the right way.
By you see, and where you while you're not wrong, that also becomes a very slippery slope because then you have people running up to your MPs and acting wild and talking wild, and then they will be getting personal, and then
Oh,
it's
yeah, no, definitely. We've had the situation. I've personally had the situation as well, and that's a downside of it. But again, if you want to be in public office in what I call the shark waters, then you got to be ready to swim
nah,
because it's gonna happen. It's gonna
I,
happen.
I agree with you on that term. If you put yourself out there and you actually become an MP, this is what's part of it. This is
That's what comes with it. Yeah, it's not nice, but you better get your support system in place to deal with it because you can't push it off on people. You sign up for it.
But then with that being said, because we also asked this with MP Gumbs, how do you feel media right now is playing a role in politics and in St. Martin in general? And like how do we differentiate from something that's supposed to be good source of media like the newspaper, the Daily Herald, the Today,
Yeah.
if the Today is still around, which I don't really know off the top of my head. But then they also have with the rise of social media, you have the BB Shaws, you have the SMN News, and now you have anybody with a cell phone like Olivier
Go
who just
Facebook. Yep.
up and could say anything and things. So how do we cut through that? How does the voter population or the Semitic population in general cut through that noise?
You see, that's it's a very uncomfortable situation that we have right now when it comes to the media. You would expect us to have certain media outlets in which the objectivity would be guaranteed. We don't. Even in the Daily Herald, I've seen paid articles that I'll be like, that's not really good to let people read that because it creates confusion. It creates a misconception. BB Shaw, that's a blog site, gossip site. That is not news. You have a couple of other news websites who just basically piggyback off of each other. But when the time comes for an opinionated piece to come out, they're all jumping on it. The most objective news source that I would say is still the Daily Herald. Why? Because they're so big. It's our only newspaper. But other than that, like the stuff like the Andrew Dick show, all of those things are gossip sites. That they are not good medias for you to go and say, okay, I need objective political information. I can go to this and this and this site to see what's actually been happening. No, and with us in parliament in politics, it's sad, but the only way to actually keep up is by trying to follow the press briefings, trying to follow the parliament meetings, and that should not be the case. That should not be the case. People should not have to tune in to what we do. It's our job. But sadly, if they don't, then they can be easily influenced by whoever takes whatever we do and spins it into what they want. And that's what we see happening a lot.
Is and that's that's definitely true because we all know St. Martin is for lack of a better term population contest. If this one is more popular and this one people more like this one because they spend more money in Lotus or whatever the case is, whoever come out with them out holds more weight.
Exactly.
And that's not necessarily so. But I must say though, not to say that we pose or we call ourselves a news source, but we are another form of St. Martin media.
No, definitely.
Now, while that again, we never pose, we never try to say, oh yeah, we are authority on this. We invite people like yourself and like MP Gumbs who are the authority on these kind of things to come on these platforms. But like you said, like MP Gumbs was saying, journalism is one of the other ways we could keep the MPs and government accountable. But if more people don't get into it, who get into the media side of it, how will we just seeing the same old goats like what we've been seeing before?
Yeah, and that's what needs to happen. You need to streamline it. You see, media, I like to call it the fourth pillar of the DWTF Politica because the court of public opinion is the most important. And that's where it starts, to become a representative like myself, you need to first go to the court of public opinion, get elected, and then you can see if you can actually, navigate. But our media, it's so splintered off. Every single news site, every single person has their own way of doing things, their own way of giving out news. BB Shaw, Andrew Dick, the Daily Herald, Mr. Brown, all of them do not depend on anybody to bring out news. They'll bring it out however they want, in the way that they want, whether they go on Facebook Live now or they send a picture and drop it as opposed off of their Facebook page or throw it on their website. There is no link. We don't know what's going on and where. And you can see, clearly when it comes to like the Andrew Dicks and the BB Shaws, where political figures clearly are paint them in, a positive manner. Paid ads, stuff like that. You should have a disclaimer. By the way, this ad was paid for and endorsed by said politician, and this is personal opinion, not something that's objectively news from the website. But you don't have those kind of nuances. On BB Shaw's site, for example, you can see what happened with the minimum wage, and the next page is a brand new candidate giving their speech as to why they've chosen to jump in the political arena, and it's on the same page. So what is news and what is not? Daily Herald, for example, they give out certain articles on Facebook, but certain articles that are important, political articles, you don't find them on Facebook. You would need to subscribe to get access to certain. So the access to objective information, that's not streamlined. So it's easy to go on particular blog sites and get their opinion on it. But if I tell you now what's currently happening with GB, what will you tell me? It has to be based on what you heard from one of these sites. But who's to say that, the CEO of GB has not paid BB Shaw to paint her in a good light, But then I know from the GB workers that it's basically a Gestapo nature that's going on there. So it's where do you start?
That's a good question. Okay, so based off of that, then, how do you feel about the outcome with the Olivia and the Jacobs case, and what kind of message you feel like that sends to like the journalism and media outlets in general?
It's a tricky question because I see what Olivier is doing. Do I agree with the way? Maybe not, but that's up for debate. But one thing though, like I said, if you want to navigate these shark waters, you need to be willing to swim. You need to be willing to swim. And going at a civilian for whatever they said about you, I personally, that's coming from me from a personal legal perspective, I don't see the reason for it. I signed up for this. Whether they're calling me corrupt or whatever that he did with the prime minister and Ati, which some of the things that Olivier is saying might have some truth to it, guys. So what message does it send? Are we now mumming the public when their opinion goes a little bit too far? Is there such a thing as going too far when you're just exercising your freedom of speech? What's the way off? Do we look at Olivier is allowed to say what he wants because he's a citizen of St. Martin, he should not be suppressed? Or do we look at, the things you're saying might be, violence inciting when it comes to certain statements, but then that's up for the judge to decide. And in this particular case, apparently the judge saw that what Olivier was doing was disproportionate, compared to what the the two ministers were experiencing. Whether I agree with that or not, I can't really say, but I do think that it's not sending the right message if the prime minister takes a civilian to court for what they said. Our constitution does not have a freedom of speech. We don't have that. We have the freedom of press. That's a very fun fact that people don't really know. Only the constitution in Holland has what we call the freedom of speech, vrijheid van meningsuiting specifically. We don't have that here. So when you talk about the freedom of the press, is Olivier part of the press? Can Olivier be qualified as
what is considered as press then?
Sorry,
what is considered as press? That would have to, a foundation has to be.
Yeah, exactly. But then that's the question, and something like that will need to be decided by government. I don't know if you guys remember a year or two ago when I think it was it Gromyko who was getting on a little too much with the ministers. They didn't like all of his questions, so they decided randomly from one day to the next, there's a new policy that's coming into play, and basically they tried through that policy to hold him out of the press briefing. This happened. you know, and Gromiko is one of the few who actually comes out and tries to give, you know, objective news. You know, I'm not saying it always does, but he's one of those, just like BB, that's always shows up with his camera. Everybody knows he can check 721 for, you know, the gist of what's been happening. We know this. The country knows this. The ministers know this as well. So when in that situation you come up with an ad hoc policy where now all of a sudden, because Gromiko is a civil servant, he needs to get permission from you yourself as government to do what we call nevenwerkzaamheden, which is to have outside jobs outside of government. Now, after letting him do it for years and years, all of a sudden, because the questions are coming to you, all of a sudden now he might not be qualified to be in a press briefing. You're manipulating what is to be considered objective media. And if that's currently what's happening, then we have a problem at our hands because, like you said, who decides, you know, what's actual news? We can't. The government would need to give you guidelines as to who decides what actual news is. They need to put the criteria. But if they don't do it and they themselves start suing people, then you're just going to be part of the confusion. And guess what? All we have, you know, the people who are watching, it's like confusion. Okay, what now? Is Olivier going to pay? Is Olivier going to stop? Olivier appealed the case. While the appeal is ongoing, he can say whatever he wants because you need to wait until you get a verdict. Is Olivier going to appeal? Wait until January 11th, wait till after election, and then just drop the apology like, you know, the judge said he would. It's manipulation and it's a game, you know, and we are watching, but we don't know what to do with that information. It's not helping us.
Okay, wait. I want to go back a little bit into this whole freedom freedom of speech thing. Because this is information. This is interesting. I didn't know this. So you're saying what was actually stipulated in the Constitution itself then?
We have the freedom of press. It says that nobody is allowed to be suppressed by, you know, let's say if I want to bring out an article through the Daily Herald or a news outlet, nobody is allowed to mum me in what I want to say. That's basically what it says. So it's an extension of what was a freedom of speech, but in our specific situation in the Constitution, it does not give you that personally. It gives the media a sort of a do not touch them because they are the fourth pillar type of situation. But it's not your personal constitutional right. Freedom of speech is not in our Constitution. Of course, you can, you know, say that, well, according to the AVRM or European Union or international laws, we do have freedom of speech, which is, you know, true to some extent. But if we are looking specifically at us as Sematen, and you go Google in staatsregeling, vrijheid van meningsuiting, which you have in the Grondwet of Nederland, you won't find it.
But even so, I feel like a lot of people have a misconception on the reality, on the realism of freedom of speech.
Yep.
You can say what you want, yes, but that does not mean you have freedom of consequences.
Exactly. You can say what you want, but that doesn't mean that you're immune to what you say. You understand? For example, Parliament is a good example. We can say what we want on the floor of Parliament. We have parliamentary immunity, but that doesn't mean that there is no consequences when it comes to the court of public opinion. If I go in Parliament and go wild, that's cool, that's nice. You can't prosecute me criminally for it, but that doesn't stop anybody from taking me to court through the civil law for what I did. You know, maybe I insulted them. That's up to them to decide. You know, the judge gives them that right to take me to court for that. And you know, we like to think that because we are allowed to say it, that nothing can happen. We like to think that, you know, our mouths is you know, is our weapon. But the law also speaks about belediging, about insulting people. That's also an offense. You know, so you always have to weigh off the pros and the cons. The freedom of speech might not, in this case, weigh more than the right to not feel discriminated against. You know, so you really have to look at it from a nuanced perspective and not say, oh, well, I'm exercising my freedom of speech, so therefore nobody can tell me anything in regards to what I say. It doesn't work like that.
But then correct me if I'm wrong then. But if isn't what the PM is doing by taking Olivier to court, isn't that somewhat of a direction to where we want to go? Because if you can't just say what you want without any facts. Doesn't this somewhat set a precedent for everybody else to, if you're going to choose to go down that road to talk about somebody publicly, to at least have your shit together and have all your ducks in a row before you come out and make a statement like that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say so, because I always like to play devil's advocate, and while I do see
Fair enough.
the sense in what the PM did, I also know that she only addressed it when it was her. She only came, to take him to court when she was the one in the sniper. But he's been going off. He went off on other parties before he reached Nate. So if are you defending the your right to not feel insulted, or are you defending what Olivier is doing as something that cannot happen, or are you defending yourself? And for me personally, being a politician, I would not do it in the way that they did, because how the PM and Minister Aki did it is very simple. Oh, you insulted me, you talked about me, and that's why I am coming to you. I read the verdict, and that's basically what it was. It was them basically stating all of the times that Olivier mentioned them, their significant others, what they did, what they bought, that they're corrupt. He's been saying it about everybody else. Why
But
is
then
it now only because it's you?
is it not everybody else's job to bring that forward to the court as well? Why would it be the MPs or Minister Utley's job to stand up for everybody else that was mentioned?
Because that's what we do. We're supposed to represent people. That's part of our job, the executive branch and me. So if we're talking about the media, if we're talking about what you just said, what is news, then we should be the ones to say, okay, guys, when this is happening, you cannot qualify it as news, because in this situation you're insulting persons, and you might get in a situation where you're defaming somebody and you're bordering on maybe getting sued or whatnot. But if I don't set those parameters, if I don't put that in the law, then how would we know until the prime? Let's say the prime minister didn't feel insulted, maybe she had a strong back like me, and she didn't care. Nothing would have happened. Nothing would have happened. So I cannot say that based off of her emotions that was the right thing to do, because I, for example, would have said, okay, you're inciting violence, you are causing public disorder, you talked about eradicating homosexuals and stuff. I would take it to the Minister of Justice, because now we're talking about what's right and what's wrong. My feelings, because defamation is your feelings, that's civil law. I would have taken it to the criminal court. Let's see what's really going on. Minister of Justice, come here. This guy is doing this and this and this. I think he is inciting public disorder. I think he is inciting violence. I think what he's doing is probably going to cause aggression in the media. So I need you guys to see what's going on with the KPSM, do your assessment, and go through that route, not go through the route where the only outcome is that Olivier is going to pay you personally because you felt insulted. That money is not going to the government. The $5,000 that was mentioned in the verdict, that's going straight to her. So are you in your capacity as prime minister giving us some clarity, or are you in your capacity as a citizen just suing because you felt defamed? That's, for me, that's the issue. If I am doing it in the light of me as an MP, then it can't be about myself. And a defamation suit law, a court case, it's literally about yourself. It has nothing to do with her as a prime minister. It's civil law. So I would have done it different. I would have done it different. I get what you did, but I would have done it very different.
Okay, so that I was just gonna say. So that's your more overall criticism of it. You don't like how it was handled. More.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I do agree. That when people go rogue, and go down that road, that there needs to be an avenue to say, hey, take it easy. But again, the avenue is not that I am personally going to sue you. The avenue is going to be, listen, this president said, through the Ministry of Justice, these things are frowned upon. These things are not allowed. You're bordering insulting people. And when that becomes an issue, I'm going to send you a fine one time because you have now acted against certain set policies. But if you don't set it, then you're going to have to take him to court. And the prime minister has money. She can take it to court. But if Olivier now does the exact same thing to anybody else, there is nothing on paper that stops him. That person is going to have to find the money that the prime minister has and sue him too, and then hope for the best. And if that's the society that we're creating, let's all sue each other. Okay, then rechtszekerheid. Where's the clarity in it? We're just gonna spiral down, and then we're gonna have 10 court cases with a different outcome.
Or just playing a little devil's advocate. Everything is like how the international situation is now in the world. Everybody got nukes, so nobody uses them.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
So that could be something as well. But again plays devil's advocate, right? I've seen how you carry yourself in some of the parliament meetings and stuff like that, and I've heard you speak personally that you pride yourself a lot in like how we said earlier, doing instead of talking, right? Why don't you do that? Everything you were saying right now again, how the how it should have been brought to Olivier, because because I've seen the videos as well, and all what you said there has been true. So
Yeah.
why don't you as an MP take it to the court as well? Because like how you said, it doesn't just matter about who he's talking about specifically, but
Mhm.
also it also detriments the whole integrity of news in general. Because then now you have people listening to bullshit and
Yeah.
and taking all and potentially one of y'all could be next, whether it be you him, or Melissa and stuff like that. Because if it's shit he keep pulling out in here and he lying on some things, then what y'all could be another target. So why don't you, as somebody who clearly said the way you would do it, why don't you take that step for the government as a whole? I guess is my
Yeah.
question.
The answer is very simple. It's not my job. It's against my authority. I am a representative of the people. I'm a legislator. These things have to come from the executive branch. Why? Because they're the ones who deal with them. They're the ones who have to actively deal with the news sources, with the press briefings, etc. We as MPs, we have this conception of being an MP means that all of these things. Why don't you do it? And MP Bryson says that a lot, and I always tell him in Parliament, do you know your role? The Constitution is very specific into what my role as a representative of the people, a parliamentarian, is. And my role is not to set the parameters for what is a media outlet. That is a research that needs to happen through the Ministry of General Affairs with all of the relevant departments that already have the staff in place and that go through the research. Because remember, it's not an opinion that you need to put on paper. You need to go and check with the SER because it has a social aspect to it. You need to do these things, follow, what the research says, and then basically come with your own conclusion. Okay, based off of talking to every single media outlet, based off of inviting them all over, based off of checking everybody's credentials. Now I'm going to set the parameters for what is news, who is allowed to come to the press briefing. But me sitting with my little one self and opposition, I cannot speculate and say, oh, my opinion is BB Shaw is a gossip site, so she's out. No, no, no. It's not my job. I can have an opinion on it and I can be vocal about it, but I am not going to step into the government shoes when the law clearly says that policies need to come from them. I can create policy. It is not in my prerogative to create any policy because then I'm stepping over the trias politica. So we kind of have our hands tied as MPs, but that's a good thing because we're not supposed to be the ones to legislate those things. We don't have the knowledge or the capacity to do well enough research to say, okay, I'm going to come with a media law, a media policy. No, you have to get in government and talk to all those civil servants, talk to BTP, talk to everybody that is involved, all stakeholders before you come to that point. And I can't start that initiative because it's literally not in my authority. So it's kind of beating around the bush, but you need to streamline it. And I keep saying this with a lot of things in Parliament. Just because it says you're a legislator, it does not mean that you should create laws. The law does not intend for people like me to create laws. It does not. The law says that we have to legislate, meaning that when government brings a law that has went through the scope, that has went through all of the stakeholders, that went through all the Raad van Advies, legal affairs, etc., then it comes to Parliament for us to pass the law and whatnot. But the law's intention was not for me to say, you know what, I'm an MP, I'm one of the 15, so let me draw up this new laws for ordering quick that talks about the media and let me just pass it. You're going to mess up a very, extensively codified legal system. And that's just how it is. You have to nuance your approach. Otherwise, you're going to cause chaos.
But then is that not what you think government doing with going back to some of your original statements by not telling people the full story?
Definitely. Honesty. That's it. It comes back to blunt honesty. And I think that government has this way of thinking that because they're government, that secrecy is a must. And I hate it. I hate it, to be honest, because we tend to pretend that being public figures means that there is some cloud up there where we hang and nobody else knows what's really going on. That's a choice. That's a choice. How do you streamline it? It's not by suing, civilians personally. I can tell you that much. Personally, yes, you gain, but what you just said, why don't you legislate it? Why don't you put it on paper? That's exactly what the prime minister and the council of ministers needed to do. Long time, not as a reaction to Gromiko coming and saying too much in the press briefing, not as a reaction to Ms. Hofman from Daily Herald asking Minister Otley a question that he doesn't like, and therefore he insults her in the press briefing. Not because Olivier started to go live these last couple of months, not reactionary, but be proactive about it. Be proactive about it, and then when these things come into play, we don't have to go to court. The laws, the policy is there. Understand?
Yeah. Okay. I ain't got nothing back against that one. I ain't got nothing to go against that one. But then let me switch it a bit, because being a young person myself, again, this is a topic that we went into with Melissa. Being a young person and myself, I have very little evidence or very little reason to come back to St. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends that are trying to do, whether it be foundations in St. Martin to try to help the students come up, or I have psychiatrist friends that are trying to open up their practices in there, but it giving me the story about a monopoly down there and all that kind of stuff. What reason would you give, or do you think there are any for the young people to come back now?
At the moment, to be honest, I can totally understand the sentiment of not wanting to come back. Me personally, I went through a a little bit of a different story, and that's why I ended up back. I also was not planning to, coming back. I just finished my law degree. I had a job offer to start as a by a law office. I wanted to become a lawyer, and my dad, he kind of got sick. He got sick right when I got my diploma, and he needed to operate. He had prostate cancer, and my little brother also finished high school at the same time, and he was going to live in Canada. So my parents wanted to go with him first, to set him up, etc. But since all of that came true, they couldn't anymore. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to leave Holland. I'm going to come down. I'm going to take him to Canada, do my brotherly duties, and then let my family do what I have to do, and after that we'll see. I came down. That was 2015. 2016 is when I left Canada, and I ended up in St. Martin. And I decided, you know what? I need a change. I need a change in scenery. I've been living in Holland for so long. I went to Canada. I need some stability. Let me just stay in St. Martin right now, because my family was already living here. It's when I was living here that I immediately saw that, boy, shit, I would not want to come back if I knew what was going on. And the calling that I got for politics is mainly because of what you just said. There is nothing to come back to. And if there's nobody, one of us, like you said, one of the youngins that understands that gets it, and still says, you know what, I'm just going to stay, and we're just going to fight. We're going to shoot for the stars and see how far we get. And that attitude is what kind of like got me into the PFP, kind of what got me and Melissa and them connected, because now you just found a small group who doesn't want to be here. Yeah, we get it. But we need to create, an avenue that makes people like you do want to come back. And that's just how it is. Regardless of how we want to feel about it, we have to create it. Whether or not we're frustrated about the current situation, it's what we signed up for to do. So to the young people who don't want to come back, I would tell them very simple, I get it, but we do need all hands on deck in order to create what we want. We know the environment that we want. We know what we want to see. We know the opportunities we want to see. We're not stupid. You understand? I don't have to tell you that the monopoly on the psychologist is BS, and that's why the Mental Health Foundation is where it's at. So it's not rocket science. People within our generation, we see the BS already. So now it's just, do we make the unpopular decision to come down, get a job that's going to pay less than what they're paying you in Holland, but knowing that maybe within 2 to 3 years of me actually investing and working for the community, that I might end up somewhere higher with much more influence. I took that chance. I was a hoofdmedewerker in mijn beheer. I didn't even grow up in St. Martin. I went through the ropes. I saw what it was, and I was like, nah, something needs to be done. And it's either you go for it or you don't. I was on the verge of getting fired as a civil servant. Me and my minister were at it, full war. could him press release against me and my press release against him, being victimized as a civil servant. Maybe I had to go through it. Now, 4 years later, I'm a member of parliament. And, I can honestly say that the journey hasn't been nice, but it's been necessary, because now I don't see it as, a cookie, a Snoopy. Oh my God, I'm an honorable and that's it. No, we have to fight for this. And the fight has just started, because we also realize that even if you get elected, it doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't mean shit. Because what are you going to do with your one vote if you have other MPs sitting next to me who can't even read the Constitution but decide to vote wherever the team goes? I can't fight that. You understand? So we need all hands on deck. We need more of us inside so that we don't have to have these conversations, because now the opinion is common. We're fighting for the same thing. But I can honestly say that MPs like William Marlin and them, they're not fighting with the same thing as me. I can tell you that much. And that's just facts.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I have a quick question, right? You mentioned quite a few times and doing it the right way. Okay, being realistic and doing it the right way, or the way that's going to not get all the followers and the people that want change into trouble. How long approximately, if you could forecast, how long would the change take, or at least the initial significant victory in the change? How long would it take for us to achieve that? Do you think?
You want the real answer or the diplomatic one?
Right. We want
I want a real answer. We don't care about the PC stuff here.
Me and Melissa always say that we are not going to see the fruits of what we planned. What's been happening is, Martin, the foundation that's been laid out for us through all of these years, and I'm talking from way back then, from the SPA, from when DP started, up to now in 2023, that foundation has been laid. It's been laid that up to 2021, it was still possible for the Minister of Romy to come in and within 3 months give land to his brother and his baby mama. That environment has been created. It's there, it's here, it's now. So how long did it take for us to get here? More than 30 years. So I'm going to be very realistic. If we think that a significant change is going to happen in less than 10 years, we're being unrealistic with ourselves. That's why me and Melissa always say we're not going to be here to see what is to be created. The vision for what is to be created on top of a newly laid foundation, that's not me. That's a new generation coming up. That's the teenagers, the little 20-year-olds, the ones that are coming up right now. They are supposed to have the vision. We have to educate them into the vision. My job is to crack this foundation, remove it, and lay a new one. And that's going to take me at least 15 years. And this is coming from me talking to you 4 years in already. We're far from
okay. And we're educating the next generation is concerned. What was you guys' approach to that?
To be honest, education is, I think, the biggest part of our manifesto. I myself personally, I am not in the educational field, but I do, I fight always, and I always say, people, educate yourselves. Laws are public. If anybody's has heard me in Parliament, you've heard me say it, guys. Read the law. Just Google it. You can find it. But again, if I say that, and I'm speaking to you guys who are my peers, if I tell you, yo, Google the Constitution, you would be like, okay, I should Google Constitution SXM. I can find it. But if I say that to somebody who's 60-something years old, who doesn't really have a laptop or a phone, what access do they have to that information? You understand? So the education doesn't only start in schools. It starts with us. It starts with us telling people, listen, what I'm doing and saying, all these articles in Parliament, it sounds nice, it sounds very refined, but you can literally read it with me. There's no secrecy on being a lawyer. A lawyer is just somebody that has the tools, somebody that just knows how to find the law. You understand? You will still have to read it. And I kind of always want to bring it back down to showing people that you don't need to be an expert. You need to have a degree or anything to have public knowledge. The law intends for all of us to be informed. That's why it's supposed to be public. And it's like you said, the education is going to take a while, because how do you start this? How do you change the whole culture of how we teach kids? You understand? We have to start changing curriculums. Maybe start teaching ethics and politics in school instead of staatsinrichting and teaching us what a Tweede Kamer does. But we need to reach there first. And guys, it's 2023. Right now it's 2023. So the discussions to have for these things, they're not even there yet. So you guys can imagine when we get into government now, all right, cool, we have the power. What now? We're not going to come in like a dictatorship and say, okay, this. No, there's people to talk to. You need to talk to everybody that's currently in the situation, talk to all of the teachers. That grace period, that revamp, that overhaul, it needs to happen. And if you don't inform them timely, if you don't tell them, listen, guys, it's going to take 4 to 5 years, but this is the vision, and we're going to have to start from now. If we don't do that now, they don't think it's going to happen because government keeps falling every 2 years. The only reason we reached 4 years now is because of me and Melissa. And it's stability, but at what cost? What structural change came with it? I can tell you, not a damn thing. For now.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, how long is it going to take? A minimum of 15 years. I think that by the time I'm 50, that I think that it would be a good time to retire, because then the next generation can take over. What I'm not going to do is be 72 in there and have people carry me up those stairs just to vote to leave my minister in. You're gonna have to let it go, man. You're gonna have to let go of that ego, at some point. So yeah, I'm learning from seeing how my colleagues move. I don't want to end up like some of them.
For a lot of them, that's all they have to hold on to,
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, if public office is all you have to hold on to, then quit. Then you don't belong in public office.
We got one here. I'm gonna ask you, Super. Seeing that some of the current parties don't align with PFP, what decisions will go into forming a possible coalition with PFP? That is a good question, Super.
Well, I wouldn't say that parties don't align with PFP. I would just say that we have a hard stance on a lot of stuff that they don't really agree with. When it comes to transparency, accountability, integrity, what we want to do. So we want to get in the government. It's not realistic saying that we want to make the change happen whilst being in opposition. We've sat in opposition. We can honestly say that from within opposition, no structural change can be brought forward. Period. It don't matter if you're NP or honorable, it don't matter. You understand? You need the numbers to actually get something done. That's number one. So we have to be aware of that. We have to be honest with the people with that. And when people comment on and say, oh, what PFP hasn't legislated anything, PFP hasn't done nothing. PFP has tried. Everything has been shut down. Everything has been shut down, from every motion to all the amendments to every initiative to all the questions that have not been answered. Check the records. That's what I tell people. But why would you go and tell a civilian to check the records? I'm not here to compete with you. That's just part of my job. You understand? But I'm here because I have a vision. And if you don't have the numbers, the vision is not going to be possible. I can tell you the vision. You can read the manifesto. I can tell you what we need to do. But until we have the numbers to actually start passing these laws, it's not going to happen. So people who don't align with PFP, I would actually disagree. I'd say that all of the parties actually want us to work with them. I've gotten calls from the NA, from the UP, from all of the new parties as well, to align with PFP, to join a possible coalition and whatnot. So publicly, you can see that maybe we fight with some parties and therefore you may think that they don't align, but other parties look at this a little bit more political than we do. We would not go into coalition and compromise ourselves. And I think that's the bigger issue for them, because everybody wants to work with PFP. Everybody, trust me, I can let you hear voice notes right now of current MPs asking me to join them. And while all of that is nice, it's politics. And unless these parties have a vision, the same vision, which is why we share our manifesto, which is why we're going to have our list of deal breakers. If you cannot agree with these certain things, then don't even talk to us about a coalition. The LB for the tendering. If that doesn't come, if that's not agreed upon, that whatever the next coalition is going to be, that is going to be prioritized, that all of the rules for tendering comes into play, so that we don't have any of the BS that's been happening this last 4 years with Vromi. If we cannot agree on that, then yeah, we don't align. And then we'll be honest about it. We'll tell the people, listen, the reason we can't align with this party is because they don't want transparency. They don't want integrity. They don't want us to put our bevoegdheid into what we call a hat of good governance. We need to be able to put our authority that's been given to us in a small box. We can't do it. We cannot limit our own power. And that's the problem. That's our current problem, that we don't like it. We don't like it. That the Minister of Rome has the ability to make a policy for land. The law says so. He just doesn't do it. Because by not doing it, the law just reverts back to, okay, well, then the minister decides. And if that mentality doesn't change, then I don't think aligning with PFP is going to matter. Those people are not going to want to work with us ever, because it's not in their benefit, in their personal benefit. So it's more of a political battle than to basically check as to what decisions we will be making for a possible coalition. What we will come up with is a list of deal breakers. Anybody that wants to make a coalition with us, these are some of the things that you would have to agree with. Period. That's it. If you can't agree on it, then there's no reason to talk. Either you go and reassess and come back, but we're not here to compromise ourselves anymore. We've stayed in opposition for 4 years, and we've shown that breaking ourselves is not part of our mantra. We don't care. I'm not here for their perception. I'm not here for my colleagues to like me. I am here to do what I set out to do for the people, and my colleagues know that as well. They know it very good.
I would say so. I've seen some parliament meetings, and I know that.
Yeah. Who don't know because they don't want to know.
They didn't pay attention. But then what these conversations good to have, because I've heard a lot of opinions stating something similar, like, yeah, everybody was always complaining about the old, what we would call the dinosaurs are in parliament that have been in government for umpteen donkey years.
Yep.
Cool. We
Since
had
before I was born.
Yeah, since all of us here. And then we had what I would say the new boom where the quote unquote youngsters like yourself and Melissa remain as well. Now it's been 4 years. I think you could say more or less been 4 years since that initial cycle had started, right?
Yep.
There are some opinions, and there are a lot of opinions in general, that the new ones are just being puppeteered from the old ones that have been there a long time ago. You being part of that new wave, how do you feel about that train of thought or that wave that people been thinking?
I would have to partially agree with it. Not coming from us, because I think, me and Melissa are the pioneers. Yep. We are the first ones from our generation, and you have the Durans, the Ardwell, etc. But they're young, but they're not our generation. They all came in with somebody holding a hand on his shoulder. Whether it's William Marlin or whatever, somebody big behind you. It has tried to push you up to that. That's the whole reason why Ardwell joined politics, because he was supposed to be with us. I heard, I wasn't there for those discussions back then, but I heard that he was also part of the political discussions back in 2012, 2013 with Melissa and them, when they actually started this whole movement. I came late. I came all the way in 2018. So I was here, and me being how I was in government kind of like put some light on me, shed some light on me that they approached me. But I would have to agree a little bit, because I see it. I see, for like the joke I just made about William Marlin coming back to Parliament, with somebody carrying him up those steps just to make sure that Duran doesn't get voted out. It happened. I've seen it, guys. I was sitting there and I'm seeing somebody come up the steps slowly. Took him like 7 minutes. Come in, slowly crawl his way up to sit down just to wait for that motion to vote this man back in, while there was a literal report from the ombudsman telling you that this minister, what he just did, giving this garbage contract to the brother of this other minister, that might have been corruption. So there has to be some type of cohesion within themselves to make sure that, even if it's a newer, one of the newer ones, that the older ones always come back to save them. Me and Melissa don't have that guarantee. You understand? I cannot relate to that at all. But why do I say I partially agree? Because I also have witnessed situations where those same, dinosaurs we're talking about get angry at the new ones because they do what they want. They don't listen. And then is my question, are they any different than the dinosaurs, or are they just dinosaurs?
That's the question. Yeah.
Age, for example, for me, age does not make you a dinosaur anymore when it comes to politics. It's how you think. And judging by how you think, our current council of ministers is full of dinosaurs. That's full of them. You understand? Where regardless of who's 30 and who's 40 and who's 50.
Nah, man. I have to give a little pushback on that. For example, why I can't fully agree with that. I saw some of the initiatives that Artwell have been doing.
Oh no, for sure. You know, like I said, most.
And even Rolando with the whole Bitcoin thing, his specific choice, I might not have specific gone with, but the foundation of where he was trying to go,
it's something new,
progressive.
It's something new. No, definitely. But then I would also tell you that when I told you that Duran gave land to the mother of his child and his brother within 6 months, I can also tell you that Ardwell signed it for him. That they made a letter from Minister of Romy to Minister of Finance stating that in the cases of conflicts of interest that you are going to sign on my behalf. And Ardwell signed those. So, like I said, you may have good ideas, but if your mentality, if what you sign has dinosaur freaking capacity on it, then I'm going to have to categorize you in that because your decisions make you. What you sign make you. You can have nice initiatives and talk, but if you sign onto something that for me was normal 30 years ago, where ministers come in and sign something for somebody on a party. William Marlin did it when he was Minister of Romy. He gave a bunch of people land in Point Blanche. That was normal 10 years ago. It happened 10 years after by these new players. William Marlin was nowhere near that situation, but it happened again. You know, so it's you always have to look at it from both sides. Rolando, the same thing. He has nice initiatives, yes, but he's also pushing for more casinos. And I mean, I don't need to explain why we don't need any more casinos in St. Martin, but
I personally don't. I agree with that one.
Yeah,
but,
you know, so I do understand what you're saying, that there are elements of the new, but I'm not convinced that the mentality has changed. I'm not.
The mentality hasn't changed because the way how things have been, like you said, the foundation has been in place where it still affects us 30, 35 years later.
Exactly.
The people who place them, they benefit the most from it. And the people who want to make that change, they're not going to be able to make that change because, number one, it doesn't benefit the people who laid the foundation. And number two, the reason why we want to change it because instead of it just benefiting the people who laid the foundation, it's supposed to benefit everybody. So basically, everybody that put that foundation there is not going to really have the Martin best interest in heart.
No, and that's exactly what I said, because we know what they did, guys. You know, I always, when I talk to my generation, I'm like, guys, we're not stupid. Like they cannot convince us what they have done and are doing is the right way, period. You know, and you can beat around the bush as much as you want, but you know, we were talking about the new generation. When William Marlin was out of office for almost 8 months, remember the Constitution says that if you're out of office for 8 months, then you have to give up your seat and let the next one come in. William Marlin was out of office for more than 7 months. His health was deteriorating. He only came back to save the run, while the next person in line on the NA list, who's supposed to be part of the team, is Mr. Di Malabega, a young candidate, fresh mentality, like you said, a fit. He can run up those steps easy instead of, you know. I'm being 100% serious. If you're talking about team mentality and your literal health is deteriorating based on you sitting in that office, you in no way can be a well enough representative for the people of Samata, because you can't even take care of yourself. And you have somebody that's dynamic, that's young, that's ready, that's supposed to be part of the new generation off of your own party, and you refuse to step down. You refuse to step down. Why? Because you feel entitled to the position. You're in your 70s. We deem people who are 65 not fit to work in the private sector, but you deem yourself at 72 fit to represent the whole country. Something is wrong with that mentality. That's dinosaur mentality.
That is a point. That is a very good point.
That's big facts. That's big facts right there. That's big facts right there. We got a bell. Somebody ring a bell. Ring a bell. Ring a bell so everybody can understand.
You answer that. Ring a bell for us somewhere.
Yeah, he's a
ring a bell somewhere. Ring a bell somewhere.
As I have a shitload of questions that I still want to ask, but we have been told that you have a hard stop soon, so I want.
Yeah, no, I can push it like 2:30 still. Yeah.
Oh, bye.
Okay, so we got 20 minutes with him still. We still got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We seen the bells.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
So
no, the
then
only
now,
reason I'm so busy is because I have my daughter and stuff, you know. So
nah, hey, family time.
How it is.
We support that over here. We ain't trying to take you away from your
For
family.
sure, for sure. We understand fully.
Fellas, are you at anything? Are you wanting to get through specifically, or are you wanting to ask in the meantime? But before I continue my barrage of shit,
Uh, I personally have a question, but it didn't really fall in on anything that we're discussing right now.
okay, wait.
So I don't know. I don't know if I want to go in that
Way
direction or
ahead of you.
not.
Thank you,
Way ahead of
Sino.
you.
Thank you,
Way
Sino.
ahead of you.
So I go address this now. I don't know, Miss Lee. I don't know how versed you are in the whole Bitcoin and cryptocurrency
oh,
space.
not that much. That's Melissa's avenue, boy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
For sure.
because she making this comment about the comment I made with Rolando's initiative being progressive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Granted, the specific Bitcoin, the specific cryptocurrency he chose to be hardcore behind, I personally would not have chosen
That specific coin. Yeah.
I with my limited information, I am not no Bitcoin guru. Don't get me wrong. With my personal little information, I know from the people who know more than me, I would not have chosen that one.
Yeah.
But we cannot sit here and say, regardless of what you may or may not feel about Rolando, we cannot.
That is not part of the future.
We cannot sit here and say that was not a progressive idea.
Oh,
We cannot
100%.
sit down and say that is not something that could have benefited from that could have benefited Simartin people and Simartin in as a whole.
Yeah. No,
if it was implemented properly.
You have
And
to. You have to give Jack his
exactly.
jacket sometimes. Yeah, you have to give Jack his jacket sometimes. And
Exactly.
and you know, I always like to be honest about that because look, MP Bryson, listen, his initiatives, most of them are not even up to par. And I'm talking about reading them and also talking about after reading what the DWTF says about it. But like you said, you need to understand where he's coming from. Okay, Bitcoin Cash, shady. Very shady, guys. Whoever's behind it, even more shady. But the idea of cryptocurrency being legislated, that is something that we have to look into. Why? It's happening across the world. You got Ethereum, you got Bitcoin, you got a lot of things happening, guys. It's an actual currency, period. We cannot, that's what it is. But then, how should it have happened? You're MP Bryson, you're in government, you know, and this is where we go back to the beginning of the conversation. You're in government. You are supposed to have a good coalition with your ministers, which means that when this idea came of maybe legislating cryptocurrency in a way that Martin can benefit with whichever coin we choose to use, what would be the first thing that you would do as a representative of the people? I'm asking you guys, what would you do? Remember, you're in coalition. You have those ministers. You put the minister of finance in place. You put a minister of payout in place. Those are your guys. Those are your guys that you can text. Let them know what's good, what your opinion is. You should have a chat. You guys should have a chat where you actually streamline all these ideas. So my question to you is, if your idea came, you know what? Maybe cryptocurrency. Maybe that's something that, you know, we should look at financially. What's the first thing that you do?
Talk to
But there's a lot of things you gotta check. You gotta check with the central bank. You gotta check with accessibility for everybody.
He just said it.
I think he
Talk
to
to the people.
Talk to the people who you're in party with.
Exactly. Talk to Ardwell. Ardwell is a literal minister of finance. How are you going to go as MP and say, I'm getting my next salary in Bitcoin Cash? You know Ardwell. Ardwell is your friend. You know that there is absolutely no piece of legislation in place to give you any salary in any type of cryptocurrency, period. You're a member of parliament. Your payment is legislated by law. So saying these things, creating the whole idea of, oh my, Martin is going to be the crypto island of the Caribbean, look, but you've not even spoken to your minister of finance that has to actually legislate all of this, because otherwise it's all illegal. It's non-taxable. You're not doing nothing for the country with it. All you're doing is campaigning on it. It's clout chasing. And that's my issue with it. The unpopular decision is to get behind the scenes, sit with Ardwell, do your research, call in the stakeholders. Guys, all of you youngins, come, we're gonna have
Okay.
a currency.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're absolutely. You're definitely not wrong. But then, is this not also part of what we just nitpick and part of our problem in the Semantic community? An idea does come, it might not be fully thought out.
So you're gonna shoot it down. Exactly. But you see, my problem with that is very simple, because that statement also has a second side to it. The problem that we have with other people's initiatives is very simple. One, it did not come from us. Okay, look, granted. But number two, the problem with most of those initiatives is that if you do it the right way, it is not going to be the popular way. And that is the paradox with it. Because those same people coming with those initiatives, those people are not only doing it to bring forward what you would think, which is a better currency for the people of Samartan, a safer currency for the people of Samartan, internationally giving us some more weight. It's for myself. It's to be seen as the one who brought crypto to the island. But to bring crypto to the island the right way, you have to take some of that clout, some of that success in your head, put it in the backseat, and tell the Minister of Finance, who you chose to lead the people when it comes to finance, let him do his job. Let him go to the stakeholders, check with the SAD, check with this one, check with General Audit Chamber. Let them bring him back some information tangible that now we can say, okay, cool. This is what it is. This is what we have. Maybe now we can put it in the law. What you're not going to do is write my own law quick with an AI home and bring it to Parliament and then, I propose it. Yeah, in a very irresponsible way. So, you're going to set me back to square one. We need to get it out of our heads that because it's my idea, that I should get credit for it. No, it makes no sense. The idea should benefit the people. I can tell you guys, a lot of things have happened over the last 4 years that we haven't taken credit for, that we actually help with. But that's part of it. We signed up to be representatives of the people, so it don't matter who gets the credit, bro. The issue should be, are we going to get the crypto law legislated and signed or not? The issue shouldn't be, why did we choose Bitcoin Cash? Why are we looking at these shady figures who lost their American passports and now have to go with a St. Kitts passport to Samartan? But bro, it writes itself. The stories write themselves. Yeah. But your priority is not.
Yeah, but you see all those processes where you just outline. A lot of people don't know, and furthermore don't even understand these processes, that the communication that need to be had, the steps that need to be taken, how we need to go about it. Because what you're saying is facts. We need to know the difference between the theatrics and what is genuine about what these people are trying to propose. We need to know it, but a lot of people don't understand the layers behind it.
No, you see, I 100% agree. But then I have to also chime in. If people don't know, I can accept that. We're not talking about the people. Mm-hmm. We're talking about former president of parliament. Yeah. You understand? So it's going to teach you guys that it's not theatrics. If you're the one creating the show, that's why we keep saying we're not part of the show, guys, because the 15 of us, we know what's theatrics and what's real. Trust me, we should know. It's our job. Yeah. They know damn well that that's not the way to legislate it. They know damn well that it's only for them. They know if they're busy with theatrics or whatnot. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's just 15 of us. If I give you the benefit of the doubt, who the hell do I have to talk to? There's only 2 people on your faction at the moment, and I can't go to the current president of parliament. He don't know nothing about crypto. So we have to be realistic about it. We got to be realistic about it. How do the people make the distinction? Right. You can't, but we can. Hold us accountable for it. Tell him, stop that. True. We know what you're doing. We know Bitcoin Cash ain't even a real coin. You understand? I ain't going on no boat except no Bitcoin Cash off of no app like they did. But you know what you're doing it for. You understand? And I'm not here to sugarcoat it for any of them.
Yeah.
The bar needs to be that high, guys. The bar needs to be that high. But us, we need to set that bar.
I find it's funny when I try to defend something. But again, when I say I agree with what you're saying, it's just that for me it's like you said, you still have to give Jackie jacket.
No, for sure. No, definitely. Listen.
It definitely was a good initiative.
Listen, the MP has good intentions. You cannot take that away from him. but he also has ill intentions in the ways that he does it. And I've also been vocal to him about this. And, that's just him as a person. It's not the first time or the last time, but it does create a pattern when it comes to his initiatives and his decision making, because you have to have a way of making decisions, bro. As a politician, I need to be able to anticipate how you think. You understand? I'm representing the people. The people should know, oh, in this situation, Raeyhon Peterson is not going to like this, because we know what he stands for. You understand? We can't be all over the place, bro. The people look to you to guide them into these processes. So if you come out and confuse them, bro, and then when people like me come out and say that's not the way to do it, you're going to switch up and say, oh, he's just mad because it's not his idea. Bro, it's not what it's about. If you understand what it's about, we as MPs don't need to be out there shouting out, I come with this initiative. I come with no. If you're in part of the coalition, your job is to make sure that government thrives, that they can execute as fast and as good as they want, because that's what benefits the people. What you don't need to do is be in there and cloud chasing, bro. I'm not there for the show. I'm not there to say I, my initiative. No. That's not how it works. An initiative coming from the Ministry of Finance every day will be a better initiative than it's coming from an individual MP. Period. Why? Quality alone. The process to get to there alone is way more rigorous process, going through way more stakeholders. Period. We don't like to say these things because when the SER gives an opinion, all of a sudden my idea wasn't that great. When the Ratmanatvis gives their opinion, all of a sudden my idea has loopholes in it. I don't want that. I just want to tell the people that I'm the one who brought it forward with no results. So that the good intentions also have to come with the good actions.
I understand what you're saying, and I definitely can't speak on intentions of nobody, but
but as I said, I'm one of the 15 and I can.
That's why we have you on. That's why we have you on. We can't speak on this, so we will leave somebody else better informed.
Y'all can ask me and I'll say it all day.
But,
I ain't got nothing behind.
This I want to go on there's a lot of things I want to ask. Let me go back. One of the things that you said PFP put up a lot of initiatives, but they all got shut down. Can you talk about some of them that or at least the most important ones that you find should have been pushed through?
Well, I wouldn't say the most important one, but I would say one of the to my opinion the necessary ones. We got Parlatino. We have Parlatino. Government of St. Martin pays the Parlatino Association $30,000 a year just to be a member. And aside from that, we send over MPs to Panama, to whatever. We pay for it, pay for them, give them a per diem. We always send 3 or 4. It's just a choice to be part of the Palatino, a committee. There is absolutely no obligation to bring back a report. Absolutely no obligation to say what you went for, what you're coming back with, bring something tangible for the country. Absolutely nothing. That's why me and Melissa are not part of Palatino. And since we got into government, we've been trying to get out of it and maybe focus on putting that money into the French side, our relationship with the French side. We're here going to Panama while we don't even have a streamlined way to approach our neighbors. So with that being said, we MP Gumbs decided to, I think she was part of the integrity committee, something like that. And we said, in Parliament, we have a lot of things going on, a lot of gimmicks. So we wanted to bring a code of conduct to kind of like put what we do in check, because sometimes it goes a little bit overboard. MP Gumbs wrote the code of conduct. I think she even sent it to the Teen Times, got their input on it, et cetera, et cetera. And when it came down to the committee and when it came down to sending said code of conduct to, for example, the integrity chamber for them to give an opinion on it, it was shut down by most MPs because, it's too much. They're trying to regulate us too much. They're trying to mum us. Fun fact, that code of conduct that MP Gumbs brought, its draft was the code of conduct of Parlatino. So we're
the same thing they already part of.
The exact same committee that we're paying 30 grand for since 2010 or 2012, the same committee that we are sending MPs to every 3 to 4 months, 4 or 5 of them that are going to Panama for 4 to 5 days, going to them conferences maybe once and then just go vacation because they don't bring back. Not one report has come back yet from the countless trips to Palatino from every single MP in Parliament. But we did not want to invoke the same code of conduct that is held as a standard by the same Latino people. Why? Because we think that for St. Martin, it's too much. So it's too much for us to be regulated by a regular code of conduct, but it's not too much for us to spend money to that organization and basically just using it as a travel expense. And that code of conduct was shot down. We don't want to regulate our own handlings in Parliament. Why? I don't know. But MB Gumbs, that initiative was shot down, and you don't hear anything about it. I think she even left that committee because once we realized, guys, we're here for no reason. You guys told us to bring a code of conduct, we did, and you shot it down. Then why?
But that's why I feel like is the initiatives that were shut down part of a document that PSP has put together somewhere?
Yeah, I think there was a draft document for that. I don't know if it was shared with the public because, of course, until we pass it, you can't just throw it out there and try to get people's opinion on it. That's.
I ain't even just talking about one. I mean about like all of them. But why I asked this question specifically, it kind of goes back to the question I was asking earlier about people feeling like, the young ones that are in government now not doing enough, or they just sitting on their ass, or they're just doing the same thing like the old ones. If I didn't have this conversation with you, if we didn't ask a specific question, I would not have known that y'all actually put things up to be passed, but then they wasn't passed because they were shut down.
Yeah,
so that removes the stigma of they just there for sure.
Yeah, the last one that we presented was the curtain, and again, this comes back to the same thing that you told me. Why don't you legislate it when it comes to the media? This was a very slippery slope because, like we already said, an LB hum, that's not our job. It's part of the executive branch. That's their job. We're not allowed to make LB hums. Launch slide doesn't come to me. I'm an MP. It has to be separated. But the launch slide LB hum for the curtain, for the removal of the curtain for elections, and becomes. I think the first time she requested this was last year to the Prime Minister, because we saw, okay, you have the launch for ordering, the keys for ordering. From within it says you have to create a kiesbesluit in which you put certain rules when it comes to how the ballots are, the polling station, etc. We have a kiesbesluit, and within that kiesbesluit, we specifically we have curtains. And when we did that research, we kind of found that a little bit weird. We compared it with the other countries within the kingdom. We saw that it is only, I think, Curacao and us, or no, I think it's Aruba and us who have the curtain. Curacao doesn't have it. Holland doesn't have it. So we said the curtain is actively helping with corruption. When the curtain is there, every election that comes and goes, everybody online eventually receives a photo of somebody taking a picture of their vote. Mm-hmm. Why? Because usually that's how it goes. They stand outside the polling station, ready to give you some money, tell you, go inside, drop that for me, and you can get the other half when you come up. But then you have to prove to me that you voted for that person. That is why we said, you know what? Maybe the curtain got to come down. And Becomes got the idea from the Electoral Council, actually. When we brought that idea to Parliament, they shut it down completely. They shut it down, disagreed. No, it's against privacy, which it is not. It is not, because if you have your back turned, but they're just showing you that that's how the conversation went from coalition members who disagreed, etc. You can imagine from which parties disagreed and whatnot, but not going into those details. But coming back to the issue, we proposed it, we brought it forward in Parliament, and they shot it down. We decided, you know what? We can't, wait. Like, this is a fight against corruption. So what did we do? We, as opposition, PFP, we hired a legislative lawyer to create the said change that was needed within the LB hum, make a draft, and then we requested the Prime Minister again. Prime Minister, again, requesting your input on this specific topic. We want to change this. We think that it's against corruption. And what did we do? We attached said draft to it. So we said, listen, Prime Minister, we know you're busy. We know you have capacity issues, because that's all government's been telling us. We're understaffed, no capacity, et cetera, et cetera. No problem. We did it by ourselves, and we are giving it to you to walk through the right process with it. You do with it what you want. You understand? And that's how the LB hum for the curtain got passed. We made it for the Prime Minister, but you give it to them. We don't bring it out and say, oh, PFP is actually the one who made this LB. No, the LB hum needs to come from government. so let the prime minister take your draft. Thank you, PFP. Thank you for your letter. Now I'm going to do it the right way. Send it to the Raad van Advies. Send it to the stakeholders. Wait for for it to come back. Send it to COM. See if COM approves. Do that. And they did all of that. They approved it. Last week, I think it was, or the week before, they published it. But that was a whole trajectory that we literally started. We made the LB hum. But it's not a parliamentarian's job to create no LB hum. So we're not going to come out here and say that we made it. No, we thank the prime minister for it. Thank you for following through with what we found was a good initiative. But the work behind it, the actual work with the legislative lawyer, going back into it, back and forth, we did it. We did it already. But like I said, that process is normally in the background. What you don't do is bring your work forward just to get it. It's your work, bro. And until it's done, there's no reason to bring it to the people yet. And that's how I feel about it. I feel that if we had brought it out since we sent it to the Siberia and we made it a big issue, yeah, guys, it's our LB hum. No, it's an LB hum needs to be created for that. This is what we think it should be. She could have revamped it, made it her own as well. She didn't, but she could have. It's government. It's not my job. It's not my prerogative. But the idea and the initiative, it came from us, and we have something tangible because hopefully when January 11 comes, we're not going to see a curtain. So it's a small step towards electoral reform, but it's a big step as well because it's the first step. It's the first step we ever took towards electoral reform.
It's something.
Yeah, it's something. And just like that, we have other things that have to come up, barcoded ballots, maybe digital voting. All of that is still stuff to be talked about that takes a while. But this little change with the curtain, it could have been done like that. That's why we push so hard for it. And this is just one term, guys. One term, we got one curtain down. Maybe the next one we get some barcoded ballots, So slowly but surely, guys. Slowly but surely.
Again, I know I checking the time. I know you got hard stop, so we're just going to say thank you very much for spending your time and answering our questions and being as kind.
Anybody else got a last question or?
Yeah, anybody got no last things, or you have any last thing you want to say to the people then, because this is your campaigning time. There's also something for you. So anything you want to tell the people, your last words? I mean, it's not like you and dead. I mean,
I always end off my anything I do with the same. I always tell people, educate yourselves. It's a choice. What I have done mostly in these 4 years is educate myself, learn how the system works. Having a law degree showed me that I have a lot to learn when it comes to this field. And that is what me and MP Gumbs do every day. When we started out, I could not tell you where all the laws for ordering were or what the Constitutional Court does specifically. I can tell you all of that right now, and so can MP Gumbs. And I think that people should pay attention to their representatives, how they started, and where they're at now. Listen to your people speak, because the people of St. Martin are not stupid. They can look at somebody, listen to them talk, and understand if this person knows what they're talking about and whatnot. And I can tell you, if we had debates, and I would love to have a debate with every single candidate, a public debate, live stream for the people of St. Martin to see, give us the real topics so that we can sit across from each other and you can put your money where your mouth is. If you want to come up and represent the people, be a representative, post yourself, postulate yourself, then you better know what the Constitution says about being an MP in the first place. You better know what your job is as an MP. Hold the ministers accountable. You write up initiative. You write up encarta. You write up asking questions. You need to tell me what your job is before you come and apply for it. And I encourage people of St. Martin to everybody that is coming to you with their CV, telling you to vote for them, ask them if they know what the job entails. Make sure that whoever you vote for knows what the Constitution is, what the ministers are, what Parliament does, what the dynamic is, what the trias politica is, what the Charter says, what our relationship with the kingdom is. If these people don't know these things, they cannot represent you in the right way. Why? Because now they're going to have to do all of that research once they're in. And you know what happens when you don't know, but you're in a decision-making capacity? You know what happens? The same dinosaurs that we talked about are going to come to you and tell you, don't worry, man. This is how you got to do it. And for your lack of, I don't want to educate myself, so I'm just going to do it, that is how we end up where we are today. So it's a little paradox, but educate yourselves, people. It goes a long way.
Yep, and your phone keep ringing off, so again, we're going to leave you go.
No, that's just somebody else. Yeah, man,
Nah,
but you know,
but-
it's Sundays. It's Sunday fun day. So
But either which
Yeah.
way, thank you very much. Like somebody just said in the comments, Spencer K, this definitely was insightful. Both the conversation with you and
Yeah.
Melissa, we definitely learned a
Very.
lot from.
Very.
And I'll say the same thing that we told
For
Melissa.
sure.
If you ever want to come back on, y'all more than welcome.
for sure.
No, he
And-
is coming back. You see, because let me interject here real quick. He is coming back. You see, because he said he want to have a debate. I can organize. I going to go to my way to
Please.
organize this debate.
I was-
We can have it
I was
right
gonna
there.
say- I was
We can have
gonna
it
say,
right here and drink to the fellas.
I had it. I
we
thought about
we
it,
we
you know.
could
We could
felicitate
make that happen. No.
facilitate that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
We-
no.
we can't, like,
No,
Could make
not that we can. We will.
We gonna make
Okay,
But then,
we will.
but then you know,
Guys,
there's the other
it needs to
candidates
happen.
that
It
involve
needs to happen. We need to put all of these political candidates that are popping up everywhere, put them in the field.
Because
Let them
this-
show you that they can defend you for real.
This is actually another way of keeping them accountable because, like Ray,
Yeah, exactly.
like Ray said,
Listen,
they can't ask
listen.
for those
You know, listen.
Go to public opinion.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
Let them decide.
Listen, I don't even know. As the MP said that I don't shoot messages out already.
Let's go.
Okay, I don't even know.
Tell them
Okay.
every number 2 of every party. Let's go.
Hey,
Every number 2. Okay.
Every number
Okay.
2.
Every-
Every deputy. Bring them.
right? We
Let's
gonna have
debate it out.
we could do this though, but we gonna have to like put
Cool,
a lot of effort
cool.
into this. Anyway, we'll
My
come back with
messages,
it.
my messages don't went out now. My messages don't went out. I do my part now. I do my part. When the information come in, bro, I can send it to you, and you do what you gotta do.
All right. Well, then we're gonna see how that turns out. But again, MP, thank you very much for
Thank
passing
you guys
through,
for having me, man.
and
It's been fun.
You're welcome anytime.
All right.
For sure.
We will
You guys be
put you in the background there, and then fellas, we going to decide now. We're going to continue because we've been here for
Wait.
2 hours and a half.
Before we make this decision, give me 2 minutes. I just need to change something on the machine. Come back. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
Talk about the weather or something. I'll be back.
If there's the one thing I don't want to talk about, is
But
the
yeah,
weather.
it's cool. But for everybody that's currently in here, we appreciate y'all for passing through, whether you commented or not. We do this information also for y'all. These interviews also for y'all, so y'all can have the information and know who to vote for, or at least have a better idea of who to
Who
vote
or
for.
what to vote for?
Yeah. Granted, yes, I know on our side, this does look a little biased because this was our second candidate, actually our third candidate from PFP on, because we have Patrice, Militia, and Ray. I ain't gonna say this in our defense. It's not our fault. We've invited other people from other parties. PFP has been kind enough and thing enough for us to bring the candidates for us, but nobody else we play. And of course we had Mr. York, Daryl York. He came on earlier as well. So we try not to be biased, but if the man don't want come on, we can't really do nothing about that. Alpha Lee, let us know, or you can let me know personally how you think about it. If anything can be do better, not only her but everybody else. If y'all like this kind of content, like these kind of episodes, want us to continue with it, let us know. We
Somebody call me out there. I get messages too. People telling me that I was quiet this episode. Everything that he said, I've been saying behind the scenes.
Yeah, we organized it this way that I would be the one more focusing on the questions. So all the questions I asked, it wasn't just my asshole niche or my questions, is from like the group as a whole. Just for it to flow a little better and to avoid people talking over each other and all that kind of stuff like that. So that's why we had it set up this way. But yeah, like I was saying, we try not to be biased, but PFP just has been the one party that had made the candidates available. We've tried other parties, but no response.
I have no wait. I have one more from NA. I personally have one more from NA.
Okay,
I didn't bring everything forward because I didn't get final confirmation as yet. But I personally have one more from NA.
Okay, and we might have one from UP as well. I trying to work on that. So ain't to say we legit trying or something. We trying to think. I want if I could do it, we would have somebody from every party, even Olivier party.
For sure. For sure.
Okay?
We don't even need his party, him specifically. That.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. If he willing to come on this show and talk whatever he wants to talk about, I'd have him on.
No, look, listen. I through my network can reach him directly. I promise you that. But we need to find a week. We need to find a week, dog, because we tight our weeks.
Not only that, something like this, because it would be radical for us, I would want the fans to make that decision. If y'all, because is them we doing it for. If y'all want us to have Olivier on, or at least reach out, let us know. Because we
let us know. Let us know. I'll put in the footwork and make it happen.
Lord.
Super said always the time. But okay, wait, Super. You was actually a good one to say about
Wait. Send Super the link. Super, I want you to come in here.
But yeah, Super, we got sending.
I want you to come in here. Me and Super know each other before I was 12 months in existence on this planet now. Okay, he owe me that at the bare minimum now. Come through here, bro. Come through here. Express yourself. Let's have a conversation real quick.
Super, check your IG. Super, check your IG.
Yes. If you're willing
to let's have a conversation real quick, Super. Come through.
But yeah, I gonna leave it up to the people who does watch us. If y'all want us to have Olivier on, we willing, even if it's just for pure entertainment purposes. I want to know who's the day that he always talks
about. The man them, wait. The man them, I have a special guest. I'm not gonna put them on camera because they don't want me on camera, but I got a special guest. You want to announce yourself here, bro? The man asked if you got extra cheese, bro.
Oh, what's going on, my Mr. Thomas?
Keep on name saying, boy.
Hey, Samantha got a lot, Thomas. They know who I'm talking about. What's going on, bro? Everything good?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We in here doing this thing, man. I'm trying to multi and triple and quadruple task at the same time here, you know. So.
But that's why I'm saying we're gonna see if we get Super on, and if not, then we're gonna more or less just close it up like this.
But in the meantime, between time, ain't got no maybe small topics you guys want to run over.
But we got a lot of things we could go. We got a lot of things we could go through.
But then let me take one real quick and let me entertain the people then, because outside of the political discussions and thing, we ain't give them us in a minute.
Yeah. All right. Let me get on. Let me see. What's the fuck?
While you're searching, let me one time big up not the fans, but also I am on them, and most importantly, Kana himself, for keeping everything lively. I think everything stayed very light-footed, even though at certain points, when you really sit down and think about the reality of the situation, the message may have come across doom and gloom. But also, I think that doom and gloom message is important for everybody to take and decide if you want to do something about it or not. Even if you don't decide to do anything about it, the fact of the matter is that we're bringing the truth forward. If the truth is doom and gloom, and that's what the situation is, still, I got to big up Kana for keeping it light. I didn't take away anything negative from any of the discussions thus far. I already had these, like how was mentioned already here today, twice, 3 times. I didn't really give a fuck about nothing. I just know already what my plan was. Every time me and Kana had a conversation, I always told him, don't do it for nobody, do it for you first. It have to be done for you first, So yeah, big up everybody on that. Big up all the fans them for being here. Big up Super. Big up everybody that's in the comment section. I personally ain't got my laptop, so I can't see what's going on in the YouTube chat side. But yeah, bless up everybody one time.
Nah, man, we really appreciate it, self. And I ain't gonna lie, I like the fact that we had a more political conversation for such a long time, and the viewership pretty much kept steady.
Yeah. But that's the difference.
I happy.
That's the difference. That's the difference between.
I happy that we maintained that, and I'm happy that we reached the 17 likes without me asking and mentioning anything at all.
And shout out to Sino as well on this one, because I know he was doing his thing there in the background while we was talking and shit. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now that you're still, let me ask you a question. Where them balloons come from, dog?
Yo! I was confused.
Where did those balloons come from, dog? Look, I was trying to keep my face straight because the MP was talking at the time, and I didn't want nobody to think that my reaction was to what she was saying. My reaction, and I didn't know if only I saw it, if Kana saw it, if she saw it. Where the fuck the balloons come from, dog? Tell me right now, dog, please.
All of a sudden, balloon just was like rise up from the bottom of your screen, G. Your screen, yeah.
Your screen specifically.
Your I saw that shit too.
I don't know nothing about balloons. God, I don't know about balloons.
I guess an achievement was unlocked.
When we pause this, you must go back and watch the replay. That
it was right at the beginning. It was right at the beginning. Not even 5 minutes in.
I was confused. I was like, Sino trying to say we celebrated, or like what going on there?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what balloons I talk. I swear
People
to
in
God.
the comments, leave us know that it's not just me and Lumbo see this. Are you at see this too?
I swear to God, I don't know what balloons are you talking about.
Impossible.
Gee, they had balloons on the screen, bro. They had balloons on the screen. I ain't even exaggerating.
Like, are you like you see? Like as soon as I mentioned balloons, I look around.
No, dog.
No. It was on the screen. It was on the screen, fam.
Wait, Super. If you're there still, check this link. You could use this link. You say he ain't close to your phone. See if you could use that link if you want to jump in still. But yeah, like I was saying, actually I was talking to Super specifically. Super, you have the links for a lot of these people. If you know anybody that willing to come on, brave enough to come on, then let us know as well, or let us know who at least you think would be willing to do it, and then we would reach out to them. Because I legit not trying to be biased. I trying to hear from as many of the different parties as possible, so at least everybody could have somewhat of idea. Even me myself, I don't know a lot of these people or some of these new parties that are popping up and stuff like that. So I would honestly be willing to and interested to hear what you guys say, if they have anything new, why they decided to run for politics, knowing that the big three, what I call the big three at least, probably gonna win anyway, DP, UP, NA. So well, I reading the comment from Party of Progress. Yeah. Curious to hear your thoughts on the creation of a journalism/broadcast association and what place you think bloggers, podcasters have to play.
I ain't gonna lie. I feel like a lot of people who want to start like podcasts, blog sites, and any form of journalism have to be very careful to not kind of like let powers sway them into certain different directions, because certain news sites have been accused of being biased in giving their opinions and perspectives and stuff like that.
I think the question was more going off of how we feel about a association being created.
That's what.
Well, I would like to say, sorry, not to cut your side now. I would just like to say personally, wait. Let me make sure I understand. So they want to know what place bloggers and vloggers have on the way information and media and things is broadcasted.
But
basically, if I simplify it,
kind of okay. From at least what I understand, the question is, what we think about association being made in St. Martin to somewhat guide the process, or guide the whole, to establish some kind of guidelines of what is and what isn't normal and good practice for both the bloggers and And
Okay, well, not to cut sign, but for me, the most important thing, and this is something I just try to do when having regular conversation, is just always look for what is the closest thing to the truth. Um, and the reason why I say the closest thing to the truth is because each story have, depending on how many people is involved, is set amount of persons plus one, because the plus one is the actual truth, and then you gotta add the set amount of persons to it. You understand? You need to be willing to look for it for all parties as involved. And you need to go out of your way as best as you could to achieve that. As long and but we don't know if, let's just say, whoever going to be in charge of organizing and dictating and saying what this parameter is. We don't know if said person is going to have it written that kind of way that it could be executed, you know, as fairly as possible. If that making sense for everybody. You know, it's easy to say, yeah, I a journalist, but use a journalist, like as a journalist for Kana. I only going to talk what is the best of him. I'm not going to talk what's the truth of him. If you understand what I'm trying to say, you know, the people that need to know the whole story. Only with the whole story can we make an educated decision.
but you see, but that's the thing. But that's the thing I feel as well. We can't be limiting. We can't be. Is a difficult something, because on one hand we can't be limiting who is given quote unquote news, because it's like business and competition. The more
Yeah,
competition,
exactly.
the product itself going to be elevated, and the market itself is elevated. But the double edge, the flip side of that same coin is, the more people you get to talk, or the more people you give the opportunity to voice their opinions, a lot of more bullshit you have.
Exactly. So you gotta look for the truth.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know
Yeah,
what the final truth is,
but
because
that's the
research
thing. And bro,
research is not something that's like, yeah, people don't know how to
you know
research.
this as well. Going school,
Yeah,
research
yeah,
is an
exactly. But
art.
but that is what I was trying to say. So like, where are we going to draw the line for what what is actually the truth, and how these people are allowed to go about finding said truth? Where that line going to be drawn? Because while even MB Peterson says, while we might not agree how he went about it and certain things that he was saying, but I don't mean to say he wasn't talking the truth, is Mr. Amrell. You
Yeah,
know? So he wasn't talking, maybe he wasn't saying it pleasantly, but that don't mean to say what he was saying was a lie neither,
yeah.
necessarily. We ain't taking no sides, but we just saying general across the board.
And you
So
see,
how
and you
we
see,
going to,
yeah. No, you're right.
that's
You're right.
that's what I was trying to say.
But then I think we also have to, with all this, we have to, as a community, get a lot more comfortable in being called out and being uncomfortable and being held accountable. Just like us doing this podcast. This might have been a popular episode for us. We never know who actually going to see this episode. We might, especially somebody like me whose family has been in the political cycle. I'm gonna probably get some. I'm like, hey, bye, Sean. I ain't like that you had this and this point, or I ain't like how he talk about this and this and that. And for me, I'll be like, yo,
What do you want us to do?
if you want to set another record straight, come on the show.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on and
Yeah, but
give
okay,
me
exactly. And so
somebody,
with that approach, we, this trio that we have going on here, will be not only doing our part in holding certain people accountable, however, but we'll be gathering information. No, we can't just leave people come on and run like the wild west either. We kind of gotta control and guide, because if we just coming on here while we invite everybody, if you just coming on here to spit hot smoke, dog, then we could do without you. You understand?
and
But if
that
you
and that's why
actually if you're
yeah,
actually
no,
coming on to inform the people, then we got a conversation. Now I not in control of the controls. You check? But I know my brother will shut you down if you're talking shit. I don't gotta question
no,
that.
oh, yeah,
You
oh,
understand?
yeah.
And so I ain't worried about that. However, we also need to let these people them know that it don't have nothing to do with affiliation or anything. If you come in here to inform the people, I reach out to who I reach out to make sure I have them here simply because these are the people I feel like that's something meaningful to say.
Mhm.
You know? So
And I gonna say this. I gonna say this too. I gonna say this right here too for whoever here on this chat and whoever gonna send this message on. The names that were mentioned on this episode, I would love for them to come on. I would love to have a MP Bryson, Mr. Bryson on. I would love to have Artwell on as well. But if we reach out to them and they either don't answer or we maybe they in the works or they haven't had the time yet, we can't really do much. Like we have to continue what it is. With
Look, the man them have different priorities, and we might not be a priority. They might not see any value in conversing with us either. You understand? Maybe our platform is not as big as it should be as yet to hold their attention. You know, but for the people them that have a problem with that, then y'all could make the change.
Exactly, but
spread
not
the word.
Because they were and I also was a little iffy with how MP Ray was kind of talking about and Bryson specifically, because I didn't want it to be an attack something, because that's not what we are about here.
Yeah.
But what Lumbo was saying is also true. He wasn't attacking MP Bryson. What he said was MP Atwell. What he said was facts. We could look it. We could back check it. So that's why I didn't push back on at least those kind of things.
That's the difference.
Yeah, but I also say this, because those specific ministers were mentioned, we will also give them the opportunity to come on and either refute anything MP Peterson said, or agree, or whatever, or get their side. But it can only be if they agree to come on.
Yeah, and now they have I want to say 6 weeks between now and voting.
Exactly.
So if we want to get them, everybody who we feel that is relevant to have a conversation with, for the time being, I don't think we could skip a week.
Yeah,
if we want to get everybody on. I don't think so. If the people them say not to, if the people them say yes, we want here, so we want here, so we want here, so I'm going to put in the effort and I'm going to reach out to these people because I am here locally. You understand? My brothers and them have their network, but I'm here locally. I could do the footwork. I could meet these people face to face. I went school with most of them. You know, like I could find them. Okay, and I could make sure like this is what's going on. However, I need to know that this is something you want. Tell me that this is something you want, and I will make it happen.
Not only that, but
we have
people
to
that we invited, they gotta want to come here too.
Of course.
We have to put if the people Super and everybody else would have these conversations with these people all the time. But Alpha Lee been commenting really a lot in this episode, so I'm gonna single her out this time. If people like Alpha Lee and Christina and y'all tell us like, yo, we don't mind, we want to hear these from these people and stuff like that, we'll make sure we could be there, for example, next week.
Exactly. But I gotta leave us know in advance.
Yeah, if no, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. No, for real. Tomorrow the latest. Because after that, in addition to what I have going on daily, I have to do what I need to do to make sure that this thing could happen.
Yeah, so planning and schedules. I got to be how to say it.
But don't forget these people have, as was mentioned by the MPs this week and all the previous weeks that we had MPs, they might have their own personal schedule, they have their regular work schedule, and they got their campaigning schedule. They might got 3 schedules, right? And on top of that, we coming in 4th or 5th or maybe even later on because we don't know whatever additional schedules man have, and for whatever amount of time that they could afford to spare for us. I need to know, me personally need to know, well, the team, Drinks for the Fellas, DWTF, that we need to know in advance where we stand for what you want. And we're going to do our utmost to make it happen now.
We could do a freelancer stuff. We could put out a poll tomorrow and then just go after that. But now we have been going for 3 hours. So now fuck the other topic, we're going to leave. Are you here?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I would like to let everybody know. I would like to let everybody know. Bless up by yourself.
We really
We was
appreciate how you coming through,
Very much.
very,
especially for,
very
for,
much.
for, for this long. This we was going back to we roots, so 3 hour long episodes again. But this one was really informative, and again, want to thank the PFP, not only the MPs, but also the organization for helping us
Yeah,
organize this,
fact,
all the
fact.
behind the scenes work that been done. Thank you
Big
very
up yourself,
much.
Nayan. Big up yourself. Big up
Oh,
yourself.
I was gonna say I don't know who it is specifically, but yeah, big up yourself. And Alpha, you at me specifically on IG. We more than welcome to ting back and forth. We can talk about further episodes, future episodes, and all kind of shit like that. Hit me up if you're interested. But yeah, again, thank you everybody for coming through. It was a long ass episode. We all need a break. I need to go eat some food and a break and a mental break from talking. Thank you for the support. And Jesus Christ, that boy is stupid. Thank you for the constant support, and we should see you next episode. We'll give y'all a little bit more information, who we having up, and all that kind of crap later on throughout the week. But again, thank you very much, and we're gonna see y'all next time.
Peace.